welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here and Jack Kinnett. All the lights are currently lit here on track, and it is go, go, go! Donoso with a crafty manoeuvre up the inside. Masterclass from the Chilean.
Crucial championship points on offer here.
Do not count down Danny Berezne.
Longe has done the job. This is for the win between these two.
Freddie Rasmussen wins the United States Grand Prix.
Alfie Butcher wins for the first time ever. Lucas Blakely takes the championship. It's Barry Foreman.
Jarno Opmeer is your champion.
Right, good evening everyone and welcome back to PSGL for round 9 of the E-Series Season 5 Championship here at Azerbaijan. And after episode 9 of trying to find a lobby host, we finally got one. About 5 minutes late, so thanks Harvey for hosting the lobby. But finally we can shortly get underway with the action for the 9th round of the season, the penultimate round, Josh, and one where we can actually crown our champion.
Yes, it feels like it's coming to an end. I don't want it to, but it is starting to feel that way, isn't it? With TS out of the way, commanding lead at this point, aren't they? Let's not beat around the bush. I mean, you look back and almost over 50 points back to Veloce Academy in second place. It's going to take a little bit extra tonight for them to wrap it up around Baku, but it's a possibility. It's a strong possibility that if Veloce don't have a very strong race here tonight and outscore TS with some serious consideration, we might be looking to crown our new champions here.
Indeed, we certainly will. And I mean, no community team has won E-Series yet, never mind having a 1-2 for the community team. And at this point, Race Clutch probably are classed as a community team in my eyes nowadays, but as they have no affiliation with an F1 esports team. And then after that, of course, you have R8G ahead of Ferrari. Ferrari being such a big surprise this season, they just haven't got off the mark well. Yeah. They haven't had any good results, I think, bar a couple. So, big shame to see Ferrari nearly 100 points off the lead. And I mean, this time last season, it was Ferrari 100 points ahead of TES. So we've had a complete switch as we go into our 9th round of the season. And I think as long as TES don't lose, I think, something like 15 points to VA, which they probably won't, they've got a very good chance of taking this championship. So, yeah, brilliant job by them this season. And I've got to say, obviously I've been here since the mid of Season 1, and this season has gone so quick, it's just flew by.
Yeah, it absolutely has. I mean, I feel like part of it's down to the calendar as well, having some fantastic tracks throughout its course, and all of them offering something just a little bit different, a little bit more spice compared to what you might see with some of the previous iterations of the calendar. I mean, realistically, I don't think we've had a single bad race this year. I mean, other than maybe the Monaco one I wasn't here for. No, it wasn't even Monaco, was it? We've not had Monaco this year.
No, we haven't. There was one you
was it Canada?
Canada, yes.
Canada, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, apart from Canada, which I can't speak on too much.
That was a good race as well.
I wasn't very in the moment to enjoy it, though. But the rest of them have been absolutely stellar, been absolutely fantastic to watch. Just fantastic to be a part of, and overall, I don't feel like we could have asked for too much more. But it's an absolute pleasure to see so many of you in the chat here once again. Of course, Will Gibson, almost impossible to miss. Liam as well, asking for Veloce to not get a double stack. We'll see if that's going to be the curse, because it's been a repeating factor, hasn't it, throughout the course of Season 5 here in E-Series, with that double stacking in the pit lane. I feel like curse isn't a strong enough word for it at this point, Nathan.
I mean, it's always happened. I call it a skill issue. Simple as. I know Will Gibson gets annoyed at that, so that's why I say it. So yeah, it has been a bit of a shameful season for VA in that aspect. I mean, it's not even just been here. In other championships, they've had double stacks as well. It's like, you know, when is it going to end? When are they actually going to have? It's not even luck. It's just normality. They're just being super unlucky. at the moment. And I mean, looking at that driver roster, they've probably got on paper maybe the best, maybe second best, due to a few of the esports drivers featuring on other lineups. So it is a shame for VA there, but you can look at every team and say, well, if this went their way, if this went their way, they could be near the top. So it's one of those, every team could have had a little bit more luck, I think so, this season. It's been a weird one.
Yeah,
I mean, no one's where you expect them to be. I mean, TF10, you don't like their 6th place, but they haven't had that many good results. It's just the teams behind them have had even worse results. So it's, it's weird season, isn't it, in that aspect? No one's where you expect them to be at all.
Yeah, and it's one of those as well because I mean, you've already touched on it a little bit. It's not down to skill or that apparent factor of like we've had in previous seasons with esport drivers rocking up and stealing with show and being able to run away with wins and working fantastically well as a team.
Yeah.
We've not really had that this much this season, have we? I mean, I believe we've had Barry slightly earlier on, but other than that, there's been very limited of the full-time drivers, and it's all been the development drivers and the engineers all cracking on and working along with it. And it's not been down to that skill discrepancy. It's been down to a lot to do with luck and a lot to do with qualifying and making sure they can get themselves in a good position off the start to be able to benefit the most out of the DRS trains, because we know how easy it is to get tangled up, and especially around Baku. I can't wait, because this is going to be one of those circuits where you would traditionally see a DRS train. Yeah. I feel like it's going to be even better tonight. It's going to be even crazier. It wouldn't surprise me if we see stuff like we saw last week with the F1 sim racing as well. It could be absolutely wild. Maybe all 10 teams getting through into Q3. We never know at the end of the day, but I feel like it's only a matter of time before we jump straight into the qualifying here for Baku. I can't wait. Nathan, I mean, I'm gonna ask straight away before Q1 even starts. Yeah. Who's the team to watch out for here?
Well, based off the message I received 2 minutes ago, Ferrari. Practice 0 is what I've been I've been told.
Is that from a Dylan Warren by any chance?
It might be. So
well, yes, we all know he's a little fibber, isn't he? He always says, "Oh, we'll pace 0. We've got to qualify last," and then he ends up pulling it out the bag. Nets a P4 in qualifying and just runs off with the race.
So yeah, Sim and Camel, 0 practice is what he says, and we'll see if that's true. I mean, we can watch out for them in that aspect. Because if they come out with 1-2-8, we all know that Dylan's lying to get the curse reversed.
Yes.
But I mean
smart.
This evening, a team I really want to watch is Veloci Academy, because they've got a lot of work, but it can become hardly any work if TES have a bit of a mess up in this race. I mean, TES have a 50-point gap, but you can score, I think it's like 63 or something maximum in a race weekend here. So there's still over 100 points on the line to be scored. So it's not as easy as people think. If TES do what they normally do and drive away, have both cars in the top 5, yeah, done and dusted. But if they have a driver that's outside the top 10, maybe due to an incident or maybe have a retirement in an accident, then it becomes even more work. And it makes Veloci Academy a little bit more happy. But I think another team to notice there is Race Clutch. They've had such a quiet season, but they're only 3 points off second place. So if both of those teams have a mess up, Race Clutch, with Lenny and Lillian, a very strong lineup, they can pop themselves up near the top. So this race has got it's I'd say the most important race of the season we've had so far. As someone's hit the barriers. Oh my!
That's fine. It's a little bump track of barriers,
and he's got damage.
Well, it's okay. It's okay. It's the first run out in qualifying, Nathan. It's not the end of the world. It's best to hit the wall now and get yourself sorted back to a pit. Get a set of actual dry tyres on where you're not testing your equipment and you can actually go full send. But I do just want to point out, I feel like it's only fair that we give the drivers praise. Of course, we've already touched on Harvey being the one to step up and being able to host tonight. So very well done. And a huge thank you for Harvey for us being able to get the show on the road. But all 20 drivers have got the correct hex code colour for their icon, so there won't be any silly 1-second time penalties for people not having the correct colour. We've got there. It took 9 rounds, but we finally got there. We're all unanimously coloured with the same hex code as our teammates. Congratulations, everyone. We've made it.
Am I eyes deceiving me? But look at FER's colours. Topius looks a little bit more of a hot pink.
No.
My eyes might be
No. You're just trying to stir. You're trying to stir. I'm not having that, Nathan.
I'll never try and stir. trouble, I
All right.
promise.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I
okay,
haven't.
Okay.
I totally haven't made enemies over these past 3 years of commentating here. I mean, there's certain people that still hate me to this day, even though my comments were like 3 years old.
Oh, if only there was another person who had 3 initials beginning with J. Anyway, let's
I don't
move
have a clue
swiftly
what that
on.
means.
That's okay. I'll fill you in over break. Don't you worry, sunshine. We've got the drivers now hopping their way through on the intermediate tyres. No qualifying bans, so everyone should be smoothly running as intended for this qualifying session. Of course, 18 minutes, 17 minutes, if you want to give a little bit of leeway for these drivers to go out, get their runs in. Should be aiming for 2 fully timed laps on that soft compound tyre to be able to dial themselves in and to try and maximise what's left around this back of street circuit, because although it does look like a bunch of 90-degree corners and a lot of straights, it does have a little bit of a unique technical challenge to it because of that and because of the walls and because a lot of these braking points and turning points can be obscured, especially by ghosted cars as well. It's another thing that all the drivers are having to somewhat contemplate and mix in with what they're doing on the circuit at the moment as well. It's a lot for the drivers to think about. It's a lot to get distracted by. It's all about getting in that zone, being able to dial in and really be able to have performance when they need it most.
Yep.
But for the time being, intermediate tyres, rocking and rolling, absolutely fine. Do believe Jerry Van Bussel's heading out on a set of soft tyres. If not, he's already out. And Camel Staturer as well.
Yeah, I'm just on board with the teammates of Jerry Van Bussel, CZK. Not sure we've seen him this season, but we'll just stick to C. Makes it a lot easier than CZK every time we commentate over him.
We got Big C and Little C.
Well,
like big cook, little cook.
Well, Connor's not in the lobby. I mean, it would have been great for him to be here racing, but he's not. I mean, one thing I didn't know until a couple of months back was Connor took part in the semi-finals of the 2017 esports season. I never knew that. Like,
He's
Connor was a GOAT back in his time, and I think he's like a 9-time PSGL champion.
Yeah.
Which I never knew either until recently. So, I mean...
Yes, mate.
Connor's...
He's literally twice as good as Jan Watmere.
He's...
He won't ever admit it, but he is.
I mean, he's better than
better.
Alonso and Hamilton combined.
I mean, it's not hard, really. You're only just trying to beat Hamilton there.
Or better than Vettel and... no. Vettel and Max combined. There we go. 4 and 4. I can count. There we are. There we are. There we are. Our first lap of the session. Pasquale Ranieri, 38.097. Tops the timings, but that won't be for long because we have many more drivers heading their way to the line. The next one is C. We'll see what C can do. As he heads his way up to the line now. Camille, at 38.025. 37.9. Our first driver into the 37s. And then next we will have Jerry Van Bussel here for CPI. Has been here, I think, nearly every race this season, but has let off. So Jerry is either going to go back into the pits or has gone for a double outlap here, which is not something we see that often around this track.
Yeah, I'll just keep an eye on his battery because I do believe it looks like he'll be heading back in towards a pit lane because he's not deploying anything down the straight either battery. He's just forgot to turn it on, which can happen. Let's not forget, all these drivers are still human at the end of the day, but he is going to be pulling himself back in towards a pit lane. A very rapid rate of knots. Again, another thing very unique about this circuit is how much you can actually cut the pit lane, how much speed you're able to take into it. It's something that we've seen drivers make mistakes on before. Let's not beat around the bush. It is a very easy thing to do. You will see tyres flying off. A little bit similar to what we had back in the commentators race not too long ago, before the start of the regular season. Other than that, it's going to be one of those. They're just going to have to take the time, seat themselves in a little bit, and then start cracking and then start being able to warm themselves up to the pace that they know they're comfortable on. It's one of those tracks. It's a bit like Monaco. You've got to build your confidence, build getting close to the walls. Especially considering the rule implemented for this week around Baku, given the advantage you can get from chipping off your end plate heading through the final series of S's. Any contact with the wall will result in your lap being completely invalidated, and you will be starting from the back of a grid and serving a penalty as well, which might seem a little bit harsh considering you are still picking up damage, but it will give you an advantage heading down the straight. It's only a minute one, but let's not forget the reason why we're in F1 World Cars is so everything's equal. We don't want anyone to have an advantage whatsoever.
No, we certainly do not. And I've got to make one quick comment. I think there might be a ghost haunting me at the moment because in the matter of one day, I had something fall off the side, my light was flickering, and I'm not joking, my Spotify just started playing. So if you start hearing the intro to a song, I am sorry, it has been turned off now. Don't know why that started playing, but my Spotify just turned on all of a sudden. And also, a quick question in the chats. Is this a PlayStation League? No. Well, this tier isn't, but we do have a PlayStation tier as well. So I think the Discord is somewhere in the description, or our Twitter. You can head over there, Teddy, and find all the information you need. But yes, there is a PC and PS tier in the league. But
Yes.
back with the action. A few more cars now heading out onto track. The next two were the two FVR cars. As we did see Ryan Grob there jump up into third, and Topias Koivunen now just heading his way through in towards the infamous castle section here, up the hill, and then of course through into turn 13 at the left-hander, and then of course down towards turn 16, a very horrible corner around this circuit. And we'll see what sort of lap time the FVR cars can do, because at the moment they need some pace, don't they? They haven't had the best results this season. I think they sit currently 8th in the standings.
Yeah, it's not the ideal season for them, but at the same time, it's you know, you give and you take, don't you? We've had a couple of good results here and there, and then other times we've just missed the mark a little bit, and it's not been consistently bad. It's not been a season that we're going to want to completely forget. It's a season of opportunity, and it's a season of learning, which is what this team is going to have to take away, and that can be said for many of the teams on this grid. All of them, you know, they're all very young, they're all developing. There's a reason why they're all here. They want to get better, they want to improve, and one of the best ways to do that is by pushing yourself and racing against the very best on F1 24, and that's exactly what a lot of these young drivers are doing. Take Larry Tulke, for an example. Not a very familiar name to most, but he's shown up in these series. He's been participating. He's been getting better and better week in, week out. If anything, it kind of reminds me of a little bit of a less crash-prone Leo Lund.
I suppose so, yes. I mean,
He's showing progress week in, week out. It's quiet, but it's there.
difference between Larry and Leo is Larry actually races in real life. That's the one difference. He races in a Toyota Yaris, I think it is, or some sort of Toyota. I can't remember the actual name.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's a little bit different to a Formula 1 car.
Let's see what Larry can do. 37.4. I mean, looking back from those two, the gaps are very large there. A 37.4 for second place, then it's a 37.9 for the car in third. So there are some big gaps in the field at the moment. It's either the fact all those that settle up before the FER cars haven't got much pace, or could be the track evolving rather quickly, which we don't see it normally evolve 5/10 over 10 minutes. So a weird one indeed, but we do have a few more cars on a lap at the moment, just on board here with Lolo Vera for ABS. I mean, it was originally meant to be Will Lewis racing instead of Pasquale, but unfortunately Will isn't here, so that's going to hurt the ABS team, isn't it, heavily? Because I was commentating over another team event the other night, and Will Lewis got 4th. So a result like that is what ABS need here. Yeah,
exactly. It's one of those. You know, we said it's a learning opportunity. ABS has got a lot to learn from this, don't they? But they've got to really go back to the drawing board, focus in a little bit more. As we've got Daniele Parodi, who's decided to merge himself as one with the Castle Wall.
Yes, in the
he's
Castle.
He's done a Charles Leclerc, bless him.
Well, our first DNF of the session goes to Daniele
first
Parodi.
victim. First victim of the back of Castle Station. I don't think he'll be the last one either.
No, definitely not.
But that's definitely not the foot Tatum would be looking to get off to. Of course, new sponsorship deal, new team name, Tatum Restech, I believe it is.
Yes, it is.
But, you know, it's one of them. It's unfortunate, but it will happen. And with a circuit like Baku, anything is feasible to happen. There's going to be lots of opportunity for overtaking, especially given this back straight. It'd be very interesting. It wouldn't surprise me if a couple of these drivers have gone for deliberately lower wings than what they would have practiced on, just to try and defend themselves a little bit more down the straight. It wouldn't surprise me if we see anyone trying to go for a 0-0 and playing it very cheeky, and just praying through that middle sector to get through in one piece. But with that being said, Yalhaze makes himself back up towards the top of the timing sheet with Truda Prescan following him straight away, with TRT back on top here with a 37.185. Brilliant stuff there, but Veloce Academy might need to step it up a little bit in this Q1 session.
Definitely. Well, I wouldn't say that much on Benzoni because he's doing a brilliant job, but you can see there Angelo rather off the pace there, around 7/10 of the lap time of Julian, never mind, off the lap of Lenny Papinta, who now sits himself at the top of the timings, and that now puts into our drop. Well, no longer Lillian. He's jumped up into third. So Race Clutch on a charge at the moment here in this Q1 session, which means the drop zone consists of Camel Staturer, Ryan Grob, Harvey Cohen, Daniele Parodi, and Dylan Warren. And Dylan has invalidated, so maybe that message to me of zero practice is coming to light here, because it is not looking all too decent here for Dylan Warren. And his lap time would have been a 38.3, which is 3/10 off Ryan Grubb in 17th place. So, not looking too strong here for Dylan, but I've got to say, a nice up there by Pasquale Ranieri, up into P7 for ABS.
Yep, again, it's one of those things, isn't it? You just got to keep chipping away at these lap times around here and just getting a little bit more comfortable, getting closer and closer to the wall each time, and hoping you don't make the same foul mistake as Parodi made slightly earlier. And with the sun coming down as well, drivers are going to have to be a little bit mindful about how that could obscure their vision, because we all know sun glare is a beautiful feature in this game. We all know it can blind you in real life, and it certainly feels like a flashbang from Counter-Strike once you end up grabbing it at the wrong angle on this game. So it'll be important for them to make sure that they don't let it obscure their vision too much. But heading through the castle section, they should be all right.
Yeah,
Should be.
It should be fine. I mean,
unless the sun just changes like the entire location of where it is in the sky, it should be fine.
I mean, on paper, after esports, these are statistically the next best drivers, so they should be able to navigate the castle section quite easily. I mean, unfortunately, Daniele had an incident there, but it happens. It's a difficult part of the track. Everyone's going to have an issue. Well, most people are going to have an issue there, whether it's in the session or whether it's in practice earlier on, because you've got to explore those limits. And obviously, Daniele's pushed a little bit too hard, or maybe has, you know, broken. That's not English. Broke too little. Or possibly a bit of hindrance from a car ahead in the way. You know, there was lots of cars together there, so that could also be part of the reason. So many factors going into why Daniele could have had a crash there. But the good thing is at least TRT have got a driver up in the top 4, that being Tudor Pressacam. We don't see TRT this season often near the top. Of course, last season it was quite often because of having Angelo D'Ortenzio, Mirko Soriano. But this season hasn't quite gone their way, has it?
No, it's not been ideal, of course, being able to bring in Will Lewis. A huge boost of the confidence. Of course, he brings so much experience, so much expertise as well, along with him and his racecraft. I'm sure even if he's, you know, not being able to participate today for, you know, whatever reasons with a late switch out, I'm sure he would have been practicing with them, helping, you know, with the setups, and being able to really help try and chip away for the drivers for ABS to really try and grab themselves back a little bit more of what could potentially be on the table, as we are still seeing a huge split between a lot of the timings. We've got drivers retiring with 37 flats, 37 ones. I expect to see the majority of drivers get up into that 37 free area at a minimum before, you know, we end up moving into Q2 with the track evolution and seeing these lap times fall away bit by bit. As we got Armateo saying, does anyone know if 35s are possible or not?
I'd say no.
I don't think so.
I mean, we can easily get into the mid 36s, low 36s, but I don't think 35s. No.
I mean,
maybe if you put esports drivers, so they could possibly. But
maybe if we put you in, Nathan.
Easily.
All right, mate, I'll believe. I mean, the only reason you don't compete here is because it would be unfair.
Exactly, that's what I say. Even in places like PCF1 esports, they don't put me there because I would be too quick, and it's boring when you have someone win every race. So.
Exactly. Just ask Max how he felt. Like, it's just boring. You just don't want to show up anymore. And, you know, there's a reason why you've took a back seat away from racing here at PSGL and joined me in the commentary booth.
Oh, that's risky by Ricardo.
Cheeky. Okay.
P9.
Very risky. Nelson Alves opting to join with him. But, of course, if one of those cars is going to go out, it's right. Apologies for the Will Buxton moment, but it would be Ricardo Benzonian. If you're TES, you can afford to take the risk.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're VA, maybe not. I wouldn't be willing to do so.
It's a high risk, but then again, the gaps are quite far behind. So I presume Ricardo's hoping, or the team are hoping, on that factor, that some of the teams aren't going to reach the low 37s. I think that's also possible. You know, when you're 7 tenths, 8 tenths off, you know, it might be difficult for you to find that perfect lap time. So we'll see how the end of this session goes. The first one to start a lap will be Kamil Stachura, quite far ahead of everybody else. So yes. Kamil will go first, of course, sits in P16. His teammate Dylan Warren hasn't been on the pace, hasn't set a valid lap. Ferrari need to get themselves into Q2 at the minimum. And Kamil looked the only one at the moment to be able to do that. So hopefully Kamil can find the perfect lap. We'll go on board with Kamil here as he heads his way out to turn 2.
Yes, absolutely steaming down the back straight here. Battery being deployed. DRS wide open, looking to pick out his braking point. 200, 100. There we go. Slams on the brakes. Flicks the car in. A little bit of lockup to help with the rotation there before we end up swinging it back over towards the left-hand side. Over to the right now. The way they take this next part of the section is so critical to the lap time. It might not seem like much, but you've got to take a very shallow line for the first bit to open up the corner for the second half and be able to get the traction and power down, as I'm getting tongue twisted just by speaking normal words at this point. It's not a great look. I apologize, everyone. But you can see Camille absolutely darting this car around, feeling so comfortable, getting oh so close to the walls throughout the castle section. Brilliant stuff there from Camille. Maybe Dylan might not have been able to put the qualifying practice in, but Camille certainly is feeling confident right now in the Ferrari Scarlet Red F1 World Car before chucking it up here in towards the most awkward braking point, downhill, slightly cambered, blind apex before absolutely steaming out of there. Brilliant stuff so far from Camille. Again, you see him kissing the apexes, kissing the curbs, not taking too much to disrupt the car or somewhat sway it and unbalance it just a little bit before heading all the way back down this main straight. DRS soon to be open once it reaches the detection point, but the battery's already being dumped down all the way to the start-finish straight. Where is Camille going to be able to put this car? Currently in P16, up towards the line.
P4.
It's back up into P4. Exactly what Ferrari need there from the one to watch here tonight.
Certainly, as we do see here, Joe Van Bussel in P14 at risk of elimination. What can he do as he heads his way up to the line? Goes P11, should be safe for now. Next will be one of the ABS cars. L'Oliveira right on the cusp, and at the moment, Angelo D'Ortenzio is in the drop zone, but in the second sector, he was up by just over 4/10. Let's see, what can Angelo D'Ortenzio do as he heads to the line, goes into P7, drops L'Oliveira into the elimination zone. Next, we have Dylan Warren to the line. 17th. He's going to be out of Q1. So can Ryan Grubb make his way through into Q2 here at the moment? L'Oliveira and CZK are only separated by 20 thousandths of a second. What can Ryan Grubb do here? Needs to try and get into Q2 here for TF10. Could drop a CPI into the bottom 5, and he does. P5, 7 thousandths there for Ryan Grubb into P15. And that will be one of the CPI cars out of Q1, unfortunately.
Yes, an absolute lifeline there given to Ryan to be able to get through into Q2 and get his head back in the game to be able to try and climb up higher than a P15 on paper. Big shocks there. Harvey in P19, Dylan Moran at P18. Not exactly what either of those drivers were looking for, but the important news for the championship standings, both of the Veloce Academy cars and both the TES cars are making it out of Q1, heading into Q2. This is where the track's going to improve. This is where the drivers are going to start pushing back a little bit more to gain every thousandth of a second. But we do have to say goodbye to some drivers here, don't we, Nathan?
Yes.
We
certainly do. Big shame.
CZK, P16. Not ideal, but opportunity to work forward. Again, as you mentioned, 7,000th of a second. Not the end of the world. L'Oliveira at P17, Dylan Warren at P18, Harvey Cohen without a lap time on the board, P19, and Daniele Parodi becoming the first victim of the castle section in this qualifying. It's not going to be the end of the event for them. They've still got a race to make up. There's opportunities to overtake here, as we've mentioned, but they're going to have the work cut out for them. They've got a perfect strategy. Yeah. Need to get some clean overtakes, need to make it as efficient as possible at the start of the race to waste as little time as possible, realistically.
Yeah, it's going to be hard here because in the race it's so hard to work forward with the fact of it being such a big DRS train, and also the gaps are quite high. If you're 5/10 off in qualifying, you're not going to have much to fight back with the top 10 for the race because you're just not on the pace. And this, that is possible because, first of all, you're setting a 1 minute 40 lap time. It's a long lap, a lot of corners, a lot of places to lose time. And also the fact is 5/10 in general is just quite a big gap. So it's going to be hard for these drivers to work their way forward. But then again, you can't count out because strategies come into the equation. Crashes ahead, safety cars, lots of things can happen in the race to switch it on its head and put some of these drivers in a perfect or a better position, as we do have drivers straight out now on their sets of, I would presume, some of them on used, some of them on new, and for some reason, I've got no game audio, which I don't understand why.
I do believe it might be a feature because for some reason my engine audio doesn't work in a broadcast camera. I know, it's in.
Josh? There we are. Sorry, was you talking? Was I talking over you?
I have absolutely no idea.
Oh,
because
sorry.
I was just mentioning about how it's always the audio issues.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you. But
Oh dear.
But the good thing is, your voice is still being projected onto stream until I quickly cut it out and put it back on. So luckily they could still hear you, but I couldn't hear you and I couldn't hear the game. I was like, what the hell's going on here?
Mate, that little button on your headphone, the one which looks like a power button, if you press that,
There's not
you'll be
one.
able to hear stuff. Well, that's your problem then, isn't it?
I turned the phantom power on to project more power.
Oh, phantom power, fancy.
That has made me very loud. My bad.
Oh my.
Sorry,
word.
guys.
He's not sorry. He's enjoying this. But we do have a couple of cars looking to start their laps. The first car look towards the line to get themselves kicked off here in Q2 with Cheetah Press Can. TRT looking to get himself into Q3. It's going to be a bit of a tall task here, given how strong this grid is. We say it week in, week out. You said it previously already on this broadcast. But behind the F1 sim racing drivers, these are the cream of the crop. These are the next future upcoming stars. These are ones who are going to be leading the way for the future for many years to come. Cheetah Press Can.
Unless your name's Will Gibson.
Well, Will Gibson's not racing.
Well, he's an engineer, and for some reason he takes more credit than the drivers.
He's massive, mate. He's massive.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Physically or online?
That's outrageous, mate. That's outrageous.
Sorry, Will. He's got to bully me now for that. He actually is.
Will, I wouldn't have that. I would not have that. But no, it's one of those because we do quite often get the opportunity to see a lot of the engineers in chat as well, and not only just engineers, other people as well in chat. We can see so many of you at the moment. Leo Lynn's hopped in as well. It's a shame Leo's not being able to host. We know how much he loves hosting these. We've also got.
I mean, I've got to say, Josh, you've got to start talking louder as well because you went really quiet. But I'm watching Camille, and I've got to say, what a brilliant game. I mean, you can't agree, but what a brilliant game F1 have made here. The fact that to turn and be good, you need to turn further than a Fernando Alonso does. I mean, even Alonso wouldn't keep up with his steering. And he's the king of just turn and hope.
Turn and pray.
Literally, on this game, it's just, right, we've got turn 1, 90-degree left-hander. Let's turn the wheel 180 degrees.
It's one of those, isn't it, mate? Everyone's had to adapt to it. Everyone's driving on the same game, fortunately. And those of which who have the most dexterous shoulders to be able to rotate their wheel as far as possible are going to be the ones reaping the benefits of it, to say the least.
Indeed. Right. Will Gibson went back and heard me. Will, I'll just buy you a pint at Cheltenham when we go, because I actually will come now. I've decided I want to. That'll be fun.
Hopefully it's a pint of...
Off topic, basically, me and Will Gibson are going to meet for a football match. Our two home clubs play each other, but none of us support our home clubs.
Yeah, it's because you're
Will supports one about 400 miles away. I support one that's a bit more up the road.
Yeah, you support Liverpool, mate.
No, I support Birmingham. I would never support Liverpool.
You'll never walk alone, mate. You'll never walk alone.
I never walk at all. I don't leave the house at all until I got up, because I haven't got a job. I just sit at home all day. So,
bit sad.
Yes, it is. I live a very sad life, Josh.
No, you don't, because we've got E-Series. Well, that's a silver lining. Every single Friday, E-Series is here at PSGL, and we get great pleasure of watching it and enjoying it.
Of course, it's brilliant. I mean, I love E-Series. To me, it's more than just the racing. We have a whole community that join in every week. The exact same players. Well, we have very similar players driving in the actual league, but we have very similar people in the chat all the time, popping in for a message, having a chat with us. It's great. It is brilliant.
Not to be corny, but it's like a little E-Series gathering every Friday.
It's like a watch along. Literally,
it's like we've got our own I guess cult. The church community?
No, please don't. Twitter has enough cults at the moment.
Yeah, we'll start the E-Series cult. Nathan, when PL for Birmingham? Great question.
Well, I've already said, Michele, double promotion.
Is that Michele or McKelly?
Michele. I used to call it Michelle and got it very wrong.
I
Also, hello, Manas. Manas Wanheya. Is that right? Manas Huneya.
Mate,
I can't pronounce Spanish. Spanish, Mexican, Portuguese. Not good in that aspect.
Oh, sorry, Jesus.
Spectre.
Deary me.
Nathan, I'm going to get Swans tickets. You're coming to... Yeah, I will. I definitely will. God, I hate
Why would you
saying
want
that
to go
word
to
will.
a Birmingham Swansea game?
It's Indian. Oh, I was very wrong. Oh, I was very wrong. Sorry, Manas. But welcome
Mate,
in. I hope you're well.
You went to the wrong continent.
Yes, I went to the completely wrong side of the world. Shows how cultured I am here in England, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Oh, it's Prince
the Warsaw
Hey,
Massive.
so it's Huneha. There we go. Manas Huneha. Brilliant.
Oh, my
Oh, right.
word.
Enough of that, because Josh,
This
we
is
have
what we're on
cars on
about.
laps. We have
Yes.
Larry Sulkeep heading down to turn 3. Why don't you give us a rundown of your expertise knowledge of this track?
So, straight line, 90-degree left-hander, hits the apex, runs it out to the wall. Straight line, hard braking, 90-degree right-hander, up to the ball. Straight line, 90-degree left-hander, hard braking, up to the wall. 90-degree right-hander, up to the wall. Straight line.
Are we getting the gist of this track at the moment?
Right, left,
Are we
right,
getting
left.
it?
Right, a slightly less, slightly more open corner, I should say, but managed to invalidate on the inside. Because when there's not a barrier on the inside, it is very easy to invalidate, and especially over a couple of these flat curves that you see in that middle section before the start of the castle and at the end of the castle. It's very tempting just to be able to overstretch your tyres just a little bit, because the way the game works, if it deems you've got some form of an advantage, it will just immediately penalise your lap like it has done there for Larry. But, unfortunate, it's one of those. I'm sure many of the drivers will invalidate their lap times by pushing a little bit too much, being a little bit too eager for it to try and maximise their lap times, because they're going to be the best corners to be able to maximise your lap time on. There's not a risk of clipping the inside wall, there's not a risk of running it out too wide and into a wall. If there's no walls, there's less risk. As Julian Palmer once said many, many moons ago, you've always got to be alert on a street circuit. And Larry would have got a 37.2 there, so that would put him provisionally at the top.
I'm going to throw a bit of an ultimatum into that one. Because it creates more risk because you can push harder.
It's
harder,
a
you go
double-edged
track
sword,
easier.
isn't it? It's one of those. You've got to balance it just right, and with the way some of these curbs in this game aren't the most
36 is our first one of the session, the evening actually.
cheeky. Riccardo Benzoni, little cheeky, isn't he? Popping it up there, and Angelo Dorotenzio following him through with a 37-1, leading both VAs towards the top of the timing sheet, but Jan Halliday is looking a little bit hungry up towards the line. 37-1 for him, splitting both of the VA cars at the top of the timing sheets at the moment. And no, you are absolutely correct. You remove the ball, you remove the opportunity to push that car, a little bit too hard and potentially into a wall. Drivers will take it as a bit of a opportunity, so to say. And with opportunity and with pushing the car to those limits, it does create a risk. Instead of the risk being you're in a wall and you're out of session, it's invalidating your lap time. It does give you that false sense of security, which these drivers desperately don't want to fall into. And definitely not fall into the trap, especially in the race of pushing too hard over those curbs and picking up warnings, and then ultimately leading to a 3-second, 9-second penalty, further down the line into the race. It's one of those. They will just have to keep an eye out for it. They will just have to be mindful about how they're driving, and just make sure they've got a lap time on the board. Because worst case scenario, you get out of the session without being able to put a representative lap time in, and you're starting P15.
Yeah, then it's going to be hard from P15. Nothing you can do from there pretty much unless you have a really good strategy or just really good race pace. As we do have here Julian Klaffenbach, who has played it well here. I haven't watched many other people's onboards, but Julian has left 70% of battery as he heads to the final part of the track. I mean, most drivers have probably done that, but ignore my knowledge of the game, I don't have many. So let's see what sort of lap time Julian can present for us, if it actually is a lap or he's going to head back into the pits. No. He's going to continue on to the line for Julian Klaffenbach, a 36.750. A very nice lap time indeed there by Julian Klaffenbach. And next we have Ryan Grob here in P14 at the moment. Let's see what he can do. He's up by a couple of tenths in that middle sector, so would like to get out of the 38s, considering we have cars in the 36s. As he heads his way through the final couple of kinks of this circuit, and the long run up to the line isn't going to get any slipstream, so there's no point driving right behind your teammates. But no, goes for the pits either way, will not continue with that run, and the same will be going for Tuomas Lamminen, who sits right on the cusp of the elimination zone. So our bottom 5 at the moment consists of 2 FVR cars, a CPI an ABS and a TF10. And then our top 10 consists of both of the TES cars, both of the Race Clutch cars, both of the Veloce Academy cars. Those 3 are in the title fight. So that's going to make things very, very interesting once we get to Q3. I'm going to see what happens. And Manas says, why are we still using online cars? Because EA haven't changed what they should have changed around 7 months ago.
Okay. Right. In EA's and Cody's defense of this, realistically, right, I think the issue is the cars having different lengths and different shapes. They can't really change that,
No.
right? Because that's the property of a Formula One team. Like, for example, imagine a Mercedes Zero side pods, right? Imagine how frustrated or annoyed a Ferrari or a Red Bull would be if their in-game car model had that Mercedes design.
Yeah. Or Josh, you know what they do? They just get the base F122 car. Or
That'd be brilliant,
F124
mate.
car.
Well, I was about to say, there's not a base.
Yeah, but I mean, like, no,
F124
the
car,
base
is there?
car from the regulations, which was the 2022 car, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, but then it's the car from 2 years ago, and everyone would be upset that it's
Good
an old
point,
car.
yes.
Exactly. They can't win,
No.
but we can win because if we call it an F1 World Car and give us an opportunity to paint it ourselves, it's the lesser of two evils, right?
And,
it's the closest thing
Josh,
we're going to have to an F2 car for Formula One.
because of the F1 World Car, that means Veloci Academy can't win. Because they just get double stacked every race.
Honestly, I feel like Veloce Academy might need to write a letter to Codemasters explaining double stacking and why it's not beneficial for grassroots league racing and how frustrating it can be. And you know, maybe just add ghosting in the pit lane as well.
That
We've
would
got
be,
ghosting qualifying.
yes.
Ghosting in the pit lane, it could work. I've seen many good ideas for F125 over the last couple of weeks. One of them just being just removing the wheel entirely from the car. So you can race in cockpit cam, a little bit like iRacing, where you can just remove the wheel and have that option there, and then you're actually free and able to race without having a wheel obstruct 90% of your view.
Right,
in
so
cockpit cam.
our first car on track for a lap will be Camel Satura. Sits in P9, right on the cusp of being eliminated, and sits half a second off of Lenny Papinta at the top of the timings, who has gone again. The two behind, Julian Klaffenbach and Tudor Pressakan, have chosen not to go again. So mixed feelings here between those in the top 4. Let's see what Camel can do as he heads his way down to turn 1. Of course, a very heavy braking zone into a 90-degree left-hander. Try not to hit the curb on the inside. You can hit the curb on the exit as you head down to turn 2. Yet again, very close to the barriers. Ooh, collides slightly with the wall. That could have lost Camel a slight bit of time here as he heads his way down to turn 3. Let's see what his first sector's like once he heads out of turn 4. So to the left for turn 3. Right close to the barriers. Right close to the barriers on the exit. Same again for turn 4. Hop the curb on the entry. Try not to hop the curb too much, otherwise your car will bounce into the barrier. And takes it very nicely. Let's see what that will be. He's up by 42 thousandths, Josh. So it's not ideal in terms of where he is at the moment, but it could be worse.
Absolutely. And with the castle section coming... Oh, a huge rear lock up there for Camel. That would have lost him a bit of time heading into the castle section. Now he's going to really have to try and push, and he's tapped the wall as well. He knew he had to push after that rear lock, and that will be Camel's qualifying over here in Q2. Now it's all up to the cars behind if they're able to improve, because he will not be improving on his lap time. The likes of Tomasz Lamanen, Tokius Koivunen, Jerry Van Bussel, Pascal Ranieri, Ryan Gross, and Larry Tukey all have a great opportunity here to try and sneak themselves up into Q3. Now one of the cars is finding themselves in a very vulnerable position, but he might not be alone. We will have to just keep an eye out for the other cars in the top 10, potentially invalidating their lap time, as it can be a feature around the circle. We'll just have to keep an
Also,
eye
Josh,
out
talk
for.
louder. We can't hear you.
Oh dear, why is my microphone automatically changing my volume? I hate that. Oh, apologies.
Oh, dear me, Josh. Right, so, Jan Halliday to the line goes second there behind Lenny Papinta. Let's see who's next. It will be one of the race clutch cars, so that will be Lillian Derbycorner, won't it be his teammate? But we'll stick on board with Lillian for now, as we do see Benzoni finishing P4 there. Did find a slight improvement and makes 1 position. And next we'll see as well, Lillian Derbacourt to the line as well. We'll see what he can do. Jerry Van Bussel P8. Larry Tolkey stays in P12. He won't make his way through to Q3. And we do have there Lamanen jumping Statura. Statura is into the drop zone. So is Lamanen. Angelo into P9 there. Keeps himself into Q3 barely. As we do have Jerry Van Bussel right on the cusp. What can Ryan Grob do? Into P14. So we do lose both of the TF10 cars there in Q2. A big shame. And Ryan Grubb only P14 there.
He's not the one, is it? It's not exactly what they were looking for. Of course, trying to break away from Tatum in the standings, hold on to a P6. Ferrari now seemingly a little bit out of reach, but with Tatum getting Tudor up into the top 5 there, great opportunity for them to be able to try and leapfrog TF10 in this race. But I feel like a special notice we should probably make out here for Race Clutch. They've seemed so strong in the first 2 sessions of qualifying, but we've seen it before from them, where they've been super strong in the early breakout of qualifying, and then it gets to Q3, they tend to struggle a little bit, qualify around P4, around that block, and then when it gets in towards the race, they tend to really struggle for a bit of pace in the longer, more drawn-out stints. So it'll be interesting to see how they're going to take this Q3 approach. But also having both Ferraris out and neither are making it through to Q3, it's not been a great year so far, 2025, has it, for Ferrari?
No, it's certainly not been at all. It's been a poor one. I mean, even if you look at the esports season as well, one win, and then after that, many either no point finishes, just about in the point finishes. Big shame for Ferrari. I do feel for them as well, because I think the issue they have is they obviously were the champions going into this new esports season. They have everybody expecting that, everybody expects them to win again. So when they have a dismal first round, people are like, oh, they're bad.
Yeah,
and I suppose the same can go for Freddie as well.
Yeah.
1 point in 4 races is nowhere near where Freddie belongs. But then again, you've got to look at everything that's happened in those races as well to say, well,
for context,
why didn't he win here? Why did he only get P10 there? Why did he DNF here? But I think the good thing about Freddie is he just doesn't really. It looks like he doesn't care. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't affect him mentally. He's just like, oh yeah, we haven't got many points. It is what it is. I mean, I love it. I think it was the end of China. There's everybody having their debriefs. You had interviews going on. There's Freddie with his backpack on, ready to leave. Like, he's just so laid back,
isn't it?
It's brilliant.
No, it's one of those where you look at stuff within context. I mean, even if you look at the Daytona 24-hour and the team getting disqualified from it, well, within the context of the scenario,
the fact someone clicked Alt
F4, yeah, it's
quit the
not
game.
ideal. It's not ideal, but given the context in the F1 game and how volatile certain scenarios can be, you will see these upsets. You will see Ferraris going out in Q1, Q2, Q3. You will see the likes of Lucas Blakely, Freddie, struggling a little bit, and I feel like it just goes and gives a little bit extra credit to those drivers, such as TES, for example, here in E-Series, who are there reliably making it into Q3, if not just outside the top 10 in qualifying, and always being able to make their way to the front in the races. It is one of those things where you will just chip away at it, and you will just naturally get a little bit of a rub of the green, something that the Veloce haven't really seen too much of, but it will come in time. I mean, at the end of the day, things can only go wrong so many times before they start going right.
Yeah, well, I mean, teams have got to use that as optimism, haven't they? In some cases, because
it can't always go bad.
No, but it can't. For many teams, it can't always go right, can it? I mean,
that's normal. Because if it doesn't go, it will not go right for every single team.
Look at a team, for example, Alpine. Last season, nowhere. This season, they would have been getting decent points, but of course they had that incident in Jeddah, which wasn't their fault. They lost points there.
Yeah.
Yoni, been nowhere near the points for 2 or 3 seasons. Comfortably into the top 10 in this esports season. So it happens, doesn't it? And teams like that, they've had to have a really bad season where nothing's gone right. They're a bit of a mockery to the brand. And then to go into this season and say, right, we've fixed our mistakes and we can get onto a front foot again, which is what they've done. Of course, they've brilliant job behind the scenes, haven't they? A lot better than what you've done.
Yes.
Josh. Oh no, I'm joking.
Yeah, I mean, what can I say? Me and the racing balls. But no, I mean, a direct comparison can be made here with TES and E-Series, right? Last season, not great, of course. being able to have Nelson and Jan drive for him is a huge boost. But not only that, the feedback that they'll be giving the engineers, that level of communication they're going to be able to have, working with Aston and Williams respectively, that's going to bring a whole new level to TES and their engineering talent and being able to understand and dissect the cars a little bit better, week in, week out. It's a fantastic thing for those drivers to be able to experience and help the community teams in ways which aren't necessarily traditional, by going out and winning every race or being completely dominant, but behind the scenes, those little micro gains that we're able to do, they all add up. They really do.
They do, and sometimes it goes right, sometimes it doesn't. But now the drivers have got to hope everything goes right, because we're heading into the main part of Q3 now. So we're at our penultimate lap stage. So they got this lap and then one more, presumably, before we see the top 10 of this grid. And at the moment, it is Tudor Pesacan that sits at the top with a 36.709. But of course, remember that, times are going to get better. There's going to be drivers that are better in quality pace than Tudor is at the moment. So we are going to see those times definitely come down. And of course, Tudor has a chance to go again. So, he can definitely improve on that 36.7. We've had rumours in the chat of 36.1s, 36.2s. And if we look at that, we're still half a second off it at the moment. So we've got to see what our drivers can manage here. The first one to cross the line the third driver to cross the line to set a lap will be Jerry Van Bussel, who currently sits in third place, of course, without a lap time on the board. We'll see what the CPR driver can do. I mean, Jerry isn't known for his quality pace, so a decent job to get into Q3, but of course wants to go even further and get into that top 5, top 6 here for his team. To the line, a 37.2, I presume that's on used tyres, and I think many of the drivers here, Josh, are also on the used tyres. So let's see who's next to cross the line. Nelson Alves goes into P2 there, 36.814. Then there'll be another car with a black icon. We'll see who that is. That'll either be Angelo or Jan. Angelo D'Ortenzio into P5 there with a 37.222. What about Riccardo Benzoni? He's going to be on a decent lap here to the line of 36.789. So still, no one can beat... Never mind. Jan Halliday can beat Tudor Pesacan at 36.571. And this is what we've seen all season from Jan. We think we've hit a peak point, and he goes even further.
It's just how much higher can he reach, realistically, isn't it? The sky's the limit for young Jan Halliday. Lady Papinter as well, coming with a 36.6. Let's see what Lillian Derbicourt's going to be able to do up towards the line. Another strong run here in qualifying for both the race clutch cars. Let's not forget, if you guys are new to E-Series, it is a team championship. They will be working together in the race. They will be looking to try and make progress as a unit. And when it comes to racing as, a unit, I don't feel like you can get much better than Lenny Papinter and Lillian Derbicourt. Other than...
Race as well.
Yeah, exactly. All three of those, perfectly interchangeable. And it's like they all work on the same brain. They've got a hive mind sort of process, don't they? They're fantastic when we're racing together. Happy to go too wide. Happy to take a couple of risks here and there. The closest thing I could think about is Barry and Nico from Ferrari, and some of the drives they've been able to pull off previously here in E-Series. But directly behind them, and not by much, is the race clutch team, because they're all so good working with one another and being able to...
Oh. The audio's gone again. Josh? I can't hear him, one sec. Dear me, guys. There we go, Josh. I can hear you again now. Sorry. Right, hang on. The worst part is you're not coming through on the stream now. Let's click onto... Oh, dear me. I want to get it fixed before we actually get into Q3, though. Well, the main part of Q3, I should say. Speak now.
Hello.
There we go.
Am I here? Right. I saw Liam having a little bit of panic saying he couldn't hear me, so I had to make sure I was audible for Liam. Otherwise, he might get a little upset, and that's the last thing I want, is Mr. Angelo getting himself a little bit upset.
But for some reason, the game stream's not coming through.
Oh.
There we go. It's working out. I don't know what does that. Sorry, guys.
Features, mate. Features. Right, lovely stuff. We're back. We're operational.
Yes.
3 minutes 20 left in the session. It's going to be a little bit of downtime. A little bit of gerbil talk. I'm such a golden retriever.
I mean,
I'm gonna
you're
say
not
that as-
right. I'm going to say Liam's
on.
not because I'm still waiting after about 2 months for him to change my banner, which required one minor change. Still hasn't done it. Disgraceful, Liam.
I can change your banner for you.
Oh, yes. Oh, you forgot. That's how much I mean. That's how much I am to you. An O. Disgrace.
Yeah, Liam was helping me build a banner. Like, you know, it's okay. It's fine.
Oh, I've got a lot of clients to deal with. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, more important people.
I mean, he has got a lot more important people than me. I will be honest. Liam's doing a very good job with his photography at the moment. So, yeah, of course, a brilliant job to you, Liam.
It's been fantastic.
After leaking information about an esports team, and now he's making photographs of karting. Brilliant.
Was that a necessary shot to
No,
take?
joking, no. Brilliant, Liam. Very good job.
Sigma, absolutely agree there, Max. Brilliant stuff.
10-second from Frangelo. Why?
Nah, go on, then why not? We'll
I mean,
give
to
him
be
a
fair,
10-second
Nebio,
penalty.
your team, even with a 10-second penalty, Frangelo would still not be ahead.
That's outrageous, Nathan. I can't.
Whatever it was, Liam, I don't remember. You leaked something. I'm sure. Or I'm thinking of the wrong person. Oh, no.
No, see. That's something I really do admire about E-Series is a lot of these drivers are more than happy to give a little bit of information away to make the grid a little bit more competitive. Had Dylan Warren earlier asking for a setup for qualifying, and people are more than willing to share their setups for qualifying, understanding the pain that everyone goes through on this game. I'm sure it wasn't a correct setup for qualifying, but if Dylan's driving it, it would explain why he didn't make it into Q3.
Yes,
Personally, I would have gone 0-0 wing and just absolutely sent it. I just waited for the race and try and drive past as many people as possible and get to break for turn 1, like Sir Lewis Hamilton.
Right, Josh, you've gone quiet again. What's happened to your mic?
Honestly, I'm gonna start throwing hands with this microphone. Genuinely.
No,
Right.
but Liam, when I say esports team, I mean like, you know, FRA were like, they were an esports, not an esports team in the Pro Series, but they were in the community scene. So you know what I mean. Whichever team it was, it might not have been FRA, it might have been the other team he was in, TF or something. I can't remember. I don't remember that long time ago. I wasn't even about then. It's just what other people told me. So. Right, Julian is going to be the first one to set a lap in the session. Of course, IRL racing driver these days. Takes a lot of time off into America to race in the radical cars. SR10s, I believe, or SR1s, one of the two. I can't remember. And I've got to say, I saw some of those, Josh, in real life at the Autosport International. They are massive cars. So
They look so fun to drive.
they do. I mean, I wouldn't do
They
very
look
good.
ridiculous. No, they look so fun. They look like one of those cars. I don't even know. It looks like the old Caterhams, if you've ever
I
seen
get
those
what you
racing.
mean. Yes, I get
They
what
look
you
like the
mean.
cars you could absolutely send it into a corner without a care in the world and just deal with it at the apex and just go, right, we're going sideways.
Right,
oh,
Julian.
Okay.
Has got damage.
Well,
So he can't make it out of Q3 because he's also got an invalidation. Sorry, won't make it out of P10 in Q3. He's also got an invalidation as well to go with that. Let's see who's next to cross. So it'll be Riccardo Benzoni will be the first one to set a lap in this session. Julian can't start any higher than P10, unfortunately, for R8G. Let's see, what can Riccardo Benzoni do? Down towards turn number 15, down to turn 16 here. In the end of sector 2, he's up by just over a tenth. So looking for around a mid-point 6, but of course has still got one sector to go here. So let's see, what can Riccardo Benzoni do here as he heads his way through the final couple of corners now. A final kink to the right before a long straight to the line. Of course, wants to try and get onto pole here for Veloce Academy. Try to help them close down TES in the championship. Up to the line for a Benzoni. Goes third. No higher than that. Papinta up to provisional pole here for Race Clutch. Never mind. Jan Halliday goes a 10th quicker with a .447 here for TES. Anybody else? Can they disrupt Jan Halliday at the top? Due to pressure can into P3 for TRT. Their best qualifying this season. Debecourt to the line. Stays P5. What about Angelo D'Ortenzio? He won't improve. He stays in P9 and Julian can't improve. Neither can Topias Koivunen. So, Jan Halliday on pole, but Lenny Papinta not that far behind. But I've got to say, for me, lap of the session, Tudor Pressacan, 3rd place.
Brilliant stuff. Absolutely spectacular for TRT there, getting themselves up into that top 3, in towards that, that little opportunistic window they can have in that DRS train. He's just got to make sure he's holding on to P3 at the end of that first lap for when the DRS becomes available, and he should be looking just to hold into the pack and be able to pull away with the group. Another key thing I just want to touch on here, Nelson Alves. Not necessarily getting the best qualifying. Starting P7 behind Riccardo Benzoni. Perhaps opportunity for Benzoni to play a couple mind games and try and maybe back up the field just a little bit. Try and help Angelo out so Angelo can jump and Mud get net gains on TES. But with that being said, is it going to be enough, especially with Jan showing the pace he's got out front? With only really Lenny to make a challenge, 2 temps back is Tudor. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be certainly different when it heads in towards this race segment. I can't wait to see it. I feel like, well, I was about to say I feel like one stop, but I mean, of course it's going to be a one stop. Let's not kid ourselves here, right? It will be a one stop, but it'll be when the drivers decide to go for it. Are they going to tend to try and go for a very early undercut and try and work together with a teammate, trade a little bit of DRS, to carry him down the main straight, and then just hold on for dear life towards the latter end of the race with weaker tyres compared to those who stretch their first stint, go for the overcut, and then maybe try and battle their way through the field? Because it is, to me, for a circuit like Baku, it does feel valid for you to be able to go for both. I'm sure one of them is going to be definitively quicker than the other. But that being said, you've got to be confident with whatever your engineers decide to be able to make the most of it. As my game has just decided it's going to crash.
Well, that's not ideal. Hopefully you can get
We
it
love
shortly.
I will be able to, because we do have to remake the lobby. But for an example, that's the reason why commentators don't host, because otherwise you'd be looking at a desktop background. It's not ideal.
And while we can let you sort yourselves out and get back in, we'll quickly have a word from our sponsors over at GT Omega, who of course help make this series possible.
Absolute legends.
Right, and we're back. Time to name and shame these 10 drivers for deciding to race. We're meant to have a lobby restart.
I mean, to be fair, have a little bit of a go, have a little bit of fun, make sure everything works. But at the end of the day, just wasting everyone's time.
And here come the disqualifications.
Here we go. Absolutely lovely. I want to see some people have creative ways of connecting their car to the wall. That's what I'd love to see.
And some of them are pitting.
Very interesting. You can't make this up here in E-Series. They've just decided to... Oh, okay, right. Here's the thought process. Are they checking for double stacking?
No.
Well, I mean, Veloce might have wanted to keep the cars in the game a little bit longer, but if they were checking for double stacking, that could be a 200 IQ move.
Well,
But
there
they
we
won't.
go. Harvey's
Sorry.
made his pit stop. He's also retired from the session finally, so we can get ready for the lobby restart. Right.
I think Harvey was just trying to delay the inevitable.
So while we have a bit
having
of
to change the
time,
settings.
let's have a look at
Yes.
the calendar. Of course, we've been here for 8 races. We're now on the 9th. Of course, next week, well, it's a big one, isn't it? Brazil. a
Yeah.
brilliant circuit. And in my eyes, should never ever be mid-season. It's got to be an opener or an ender of a season because it delivers
Yes.
every single time.
It is just a fantastic circuit through and through, isn't it? At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what you race there. It can be some of your good old stock cars, V8s, Formula cars, whatever race is there. It's always a fantastic race. It always works. There's ample overtaking opportunities. And the weather there is absolutely fantastic. Of course, you're between the two lakes as well. So there's great opportunities for rain to basically come out of absolutely nowhere. It doesn't appear on the radars. The next thing you know, it's absolutely blasting it down with rain. And, you're trying to just absolutely survive like we saw last season in Formula One. Just trying to live on the track, to be honest with you, because there's no other way around it.
No, certainly is not. Right, so we're still loading back into the lobby. So this is going a lot longer than it normally does, which is a big shame. So yes, hopefully we're not going to be taking too much longer before we head our way into the race. Of course, a reminder of last week's results. Of course, in Belgium, Jan Halliday unsurprisingly took the win.
There you go.
By 4 seconds to Lilian Derbacourt in second place, and then Danny Van Ruysen in third for CPI, their first podium of the season. That came after a penalty, I think, because I remember Tobias Koivunen finishing on the podium. So, of course, that penalty promoted Danny Van Ruysen into the podium spots for CPI, their first one of the season. Luca Rapassa, P4, good result there for Veloce Academy. Of course, not the same can be said for Leo Lund, who finished in P11 after that race, outside the top 10. And it doesn't it's not very often that Veloce Academy finish outside the top 10. So a big shame there for Leo. Of course, it wasn't ideal for Nelson Alves, P18 in the end for him. And then, of course, second go for Race Clutch with Lenny Papinta, P19. So, not many points scored for both of those teams. Luckily, though, they had their drivers at the top. And, of course, standings-wise, just a reminder, Veloci Academy are 51 points behind. I think it is 51 points behind the back of TES, who lead the standings on 335 points. Race Clutch 3 points off of Veloci Academy in third. And then another 30 points back is R8G on 252. So a big, big challenge there for Veloce and Race Clutch to tackle down TES. And I mean, if Jan Halliday wins this, there's no reason at all why they won't take the championship.
Yeah, they would just have to have an okay race at Interlagos, wouldn't they? They wouldn't have to have an absolute barnstormer. They wouldn't have to win. They would just need a solid amount of points. You're looking at P6, P7, get both cars there. They should be wrapping up the championship there. But that's providing everything goes well here tonight. Of course, we should mention Baku. Everyone knows what Baku is. Everyone knows what can happen around Baku. You know to expect the unexpected at Baku, and you know to never expect anything in sim racing because anything can happen. And we're going to have the best of both worlds. So we're either going to get a absolute complete snooze fest of everyone behaving themselves, or we're going to have an absolute wild race with everyone doing silly stuff and just creating some absolutely brilliant, entertaining racing all throughout. I'm not sure which way it's going to go yet. I feel like after the qualifying, a couple of the drivers seemed a little bit reserved on their lap times, but maybe they're leaning more towards a race strategy. Maybe they've opted for a little less wing just to try and make those overtakes a bit easier with the DRS. A lot of opportunities. That's a bit of an understatement, to be quite honest, around Baku, isn't it? There's more than a couple opportunities.
Yep.
You can practically overtake anywhere. You can also practically go into a wall anywhere. So, double-edged sword. Pick your poison. Have a bit of fun with it.
I've been looking at the rule book, and it states that there is 63 points if you finish first and second, and there's 1 point for pole, which puts that gap for TES now to 52 points to Veloce Academy. So, basically, TES need to outscore Veloce Academy by, 12 points. 13 points, sorry, and they can take it. They need to outscore Race Clutch by 17 points to take it. So, more than possible, especially if Jan can finish at the front and take that top spot. But then again, it's all about what happens behind. Nelson needs to be right there up with him. If Nelson, for example, makes a mistake and finishes maybe P10 or something, or P11, then that promotes that opportunity for Race Clutch to finish second and third, and then still keep that title fight alive.
I'm trying to do maths in my head here, and my brain it's just refusing to operate. Right, okay, so feasibly speaking, Race Clutch would ideally want to be able to get a double podium here.
More, yeah,
They,
definitely.
They get a double podium, they'll be able to leapfrog ahead, close the gap up to TS, and then we could potentially be looking at less than a 25-point gap if my head is doing, if my head is working.
Won't be 25. They're already 50 points ahead.
Yeah, and then if Race Clutch get a double podium,
And Jan wins.
well, if Jan wins, that's the thing, right? If Jan doesn't win and Race Clutch get a double podium, because in my head I was thinking 1-2. Yeah, and then we are looking at that 25-30 point margin where realistically TS might have to pull something out a little bit better than just mediocre around Interlagos. But that is a huge if Jan isn't able to win. We should premise that because Jan has been on absolute fire in this game, and he's been on fire in E-Series as a whole. There's a reason why the TES lineup has rarely changed from round 1 this season all the way up until now in round 9. There's an opportunity almost everywhere for those guys to be able to pull out an absolute crazy race, and they have done, reliably. Yeah. There's a reason why they're leading the standings. There's a reason why they've been so commanding, dominating, and assertive on the racetrack as well. Drivers know that Jan and Nelson are both. They both can win, but they've both got that aura on track as well, where, there's nothing really comparable about it in real life, but they've got that, okay, if you just sit behind me, I'll make a move, you're more than likely going to be able to follow me through. That's somewhat not going to help the likes of Veloce Academy and Race Clutch, right? Because they don't want other cars getting involved. They kind of just want to keep it that three-way fight.
Any other team involved in the top fights will want to get involved because they still want to get podiums, they still want to get wins because they've still got positions to fight for. We'll look again at the standings. There's close gaps everywhere. You look here, but ABS are a little bit far off. But if you look at Tatum down to FVR, 10 points. That's a big battle. Then you've got, obviously, TF10 only just ahead of Tatum. That's also going to be part of the fight. And then you have Ferrari, R8G, Race Clutch and Veloce Academy all in a group. But then on the other hand, you also have Race Clutch and Veloce Academy catching up onto TES. So every team's going to take their opportunity to get a podium, to beat one of the big teams. Because there's no reason why they wouldn't. They're not just going to say, oh, you're in a title fight, I'm not going to get involved. If they want to get involved, they will. And a big example, Shida Pressakan in third for TRT, a 25 points for a P3, that would help them heavily in overtaking TF10 and trying to, obviously not close it to Ferrari because they're 100 points ahead, but just have that gap going into Interlagos ahead of those 7th down.
Just creating that little bit of a buffer. My head always goes back many, many years ago, before you started watching F1, Nathan, with Sebastian Vettel, when he had that spin, first lap of Interlagos, championship's over, he's lost it, Fernando's going to win. Absolutely done for. Vettel has one of the most incredible drives, nurturing his tyres, last couple laps, comes up to the back of Michael's car, and the Mercedes waves him past. We're not going to see any of that. We're not going to see any of those, on-track relationships because of how much there is to fight for everywhere on the grid. There's not a team which isn't either at risk of being overtaken from a team behind, or there's not a team on the grid which, if they don't get a couple extra points, would not be able to jump ahead of another team. Realistically, probably the team, I want to say, from the top of my head, without looking, probably the most in the middle of no man's land is Ferrari at the moment. But even then, it's not by much. All they would need is 2 strong races, and they're looking to get right back in the mix, in towards the top 3. Being able to catch up to TS is almost out of the question, if not entirely out of the question at this point, mathematically. But still being able to get themselves a solid result, still being able to grab a couple of positions, and trying to move themselves back in towards that positive direction is going to be absolutely critical for them. In somewhat of a mental capacity. I mean, we heard, Barry, Nico, and Yona last season say when they picked up a race win, they felt confident, they felt happy with it. It was something that the team could cherish and, be able to take a lot of energy from heading into F1 sim racing. They won't have that luxury from not competing for the championship here. That's not going to be a bonus they'll be able to take away from. While on the other hand, TES, Veloce Academy, they will be able to have that luxury. They'll be going into, the next season of these series, they'll be going into their individual league races with that confidence of, yeah, we're the best operational team on F124 at the moment. We're the best community team. We're the only community team to ever win E-Series. That is a huge statement, and that's a huge confidence boost for the drivers, for the engineers. It wouldn't surprise me if we see a couple things shake up as well with driver lineups at that point. People might want to come join. People might want to leave. There's a lot which can happen in such a short space of time, to be quite honest with you.
There certainly is. And I mean, I hate to tell you, Josh, you've had a 2-minute waffling session, but get ready because you're taking the start. So
I know, I'm going to have to keep
time to
waffling.
waffle again. But right, quickly before we go in, Josh and the chat, let us know predictions for the race win. I'm going to go with Lenny Pipinta. What about you?
Tudor Prescott. I feel like there's going to be an incident, so to say. I feel like things might get a little bit heated towards the front, and Tudor might just be able to keep his nose clean, break out with DRS, and just keep his head down for the remainder of the race. But fingers crossed that won't happen. Fingers crossed we get an absolutely outrageous battle between the top 10 for a potential podium, if not a race win. We know what Baku's like. We know how fantastic he can be. God, just put us in. I know you're not the biggest fan of Baku, Nathan, but please just trust me on this one.
No, I love it for racing, but I don't like the track.
Trust me on this one, because we do have the 5 red lights on your screen at the moment before we're ready to set off here for the Baku Grand Prix, round 9 of Season 5 in E-Series. It's a great start there from Jan Halliday, being able to get over towards the racing line. Brilliant stuff. Holding on to that lead. We've got cars going too wide there, heading through Turn 1. Ricardo Benzoni jumping himself up there into P3. Tudor Prescott falling back through the order, getting squeezed in a little bit. We've got cars trying to send it free wide through Turn 2. Not all of them are going to be able to fit perfectly, but it seems like everyone's been able to escape through that without any damage, and now comes the absolute monsoon of cars charging themselves all the way down into Turn 3. Everything is going haywire at the moment, but it seems like everyone has got through completely unscathed in Sector 1. That is fantastic stuff, Nathan.
It certainly is, and I'm not sure, though, if Topias Covenant has a little bit of damage because he did clatter into the rear of, I think it was Jerry, heading through Turn 1. What's happened there? Is that Parodi? And it's also Dylan Warren being caught up in that one. Harvey Cohen as well. Those two are good friends in real life. I'm sure they're going to have a little argument after that one later on. It was Danny Ellie, wasn't it?
It was CZK, Daniele and Dylan trying to go free wide. One of them got squeezed, spun round halfway there, and Harvey was just a victim of that entirely. Unfortunate there, but they're going to have to keep their head down and keep themselves cracking.
Gap,
already
1.2 seconds behind, yeah. So we have a battle already, P5 and upwards. Also at the top there, we can see Jan Halliday has gained over a second here to Lenny Pipinta. Of course, though, remember, we've got mediums and hards at the moment. There seems to be a big disparity between the two tyres. Jan Halliday's got a 1.1 second lead. Lenny Pipinta will try and bring that gap down as we head our way down to Turn 1. Of course, we get to see there Lenny using over 60% of the battery already. As we do see a battle here down to Turn 1. Julian Klaffenbach getting past 2 cars. And then we can see further behind Jerry Van Bussel and Topias Koivunen going side by side through Turn 1. Into Turn 2, they still continue side by side. Topias up the inside. Jerry nearly being put into the wall there by Topias, very close to contact as they head out of Turn 2. And now DRS is open as they head down to Turn 3.
Quick question, chat, Nathan. How on earth has Julian Klaffenbach gone from P10 to P3 in lap 1?
Medium tyres, I presume, is one of them.
Well, there's only so much grip medium tyres can do, my friend. They're not exactly PVA glue.
Look at the gaps.
They're not exactly...
They're giants after lap 1.
Yeah, but they're not exactly like PVA glue. It's not like being on a set of intermediate tyres. My question is, where has he been able to make the overtakes? Of course he's going to have more grip in the corners, but with cars going 2-3 wide, surely, you know, that's a little bit risky. But it's paid out. That's the key part. The reward has been worth the risk there for Julian, making himself up into P3. Yeah, back within the DRS range of Lenny Pipinta, as Jan Halliday has presumably dumped most of his battery to build up that gap to 1.8 seconds. And now Jan is going to be looking to cruise off into the sunset here next to the Black Sea in Azerbaijan. But that being said, this race is still long, still 24 racing laps to go. Anything can happen. Let's see how effectively Race Clutch, RHG, CPI are all going to be able to work together here.
The good thing, though, here for those on the hard tyres is, for those on the hards, is that we know that the hards are bad. So once these on the medium switch to hards, they're going to have a long stint on those poor tyres. As we do see there an overtake, Julian Klaffenbach going ahead of Lenny Pipinta. Further back there, Ricardo Benzoni making a move ahead of Tudor, and so does Nelson Alves. He goes up into P7 there for TES, and then further back we can see Lillian Debecourt as well, looking to close in and make some moves along with Ryan Grob. Sits in P10 at the moment. Then further back we have Pasquale Ranieri, who's dropped back, so things haven't gone too good for him. And then we do see as well Angelo D'Ortenzio closing in and looking to make an overtake, and so does further ahead Lillian Debecourt. Fancy move. We got contact, we got battling left, right and centre here at Baku. Not something I thought we'd be saying.
No, I was expecting him to be a little bit more reserved in this first stint of a race, but pleasantly surprised. Cars looking to try and be very cheeky with some of their position. A huge clunk on the curve there from Ryan, but that's going to give Lillian a brilliant opportunity. But unfortunately, due to the nature of the track, that opportunity is going to be closed up almost immediately. More rear locking for those cars just before the castle section. Going to have to keep an eye out for that. All it'll take is one driver to, tap that brake, or maybe hold it for a little bit too long, and their car's going to spin from the rear and they'll be facing back to front in a matter of seconds, with the rest of the cars piling through at a rapid rate of knots. But cars looking now get himself straightened up before heading down towards the back straight, and Julian Klappenbach now breaking out the DRS range of Learning Pinter as well. Mediums clearly showing them a quicker tyre at the moment, but it won't be too long before those mediums start to feel a little bit more wear in comparison to the hards, and that time delta is just going to keep shrinking and shrinking the longer those mediums are in this race for.
Of course, as we do see yet again down that back straight into turn one, many moves. We've got Coven ahead of Van Bussel, D'Ortenzio ahead of Grob, and also, I think that was Larry Talker there, getting ahead of Kamil Stachera. Down to turn one as well, into P12 goes Larry Talker after starting, I believe in P15, so a very nice job there by Larry Talker. And then of course we can see here, Jerry Van Bussel just not gaining as much as he would have liked. Down towards turn three there, so can't make a move back ahead of Topias Koivun and therefore FVR. So at the moment, we've got 5 different teams in the top 5. TES, RHG, Racecoach, FVR and CPI. And we saw that last time as well. CPI and FVR doing a lot better than they are on paper, realistically. Looking at where they are in the championship, they should be nowhere near the top 5. We saw it in Spa, both of the teams being in the top 5, and we're seeing it again here in Baku. So both those teams starting to have a bit of an increase in pace, but unfortunately, there's only 2 rounds to go. So it would have been nice if they did it around 5 rounds earlier.
Silver lining, though, something I can build on, something I'll be able to take positives away from throughout the duration of this game cycle. But I do quickly want to point out as well, we can clearly see the trains have already started to form. Of course, you got that top 5, as you mentioned, but Nelson Alves is leading that second train as well, which will give, of course, TES the most amount of points compared to their championship rivals, extending their lead heading into Lagos, and if not, wrapping up the championship here tonight as well. I think that could potentially be on the cards as well, if my maths is correct there.
Yeah, I mean, Veloce Academy sit P7 and P10. That's not a lot of points going their way. Whereas TES have a car in the top, well, have both cars in the top 6. They have one in P1 and one in P7. What's happened to Lolavera there? He's been overtaken twice. I mean, the pace hasn't been ideal here for Lolavera. The soft tyres have already seeming to have dropped off, so they're going to head back into the pits.
I've also noticed something about the ABS cars.
Yeah, you've also gone quiet.
Yeah.
We
Well,
can't hear
because
you.
I'm debating on whether I should say this or not, to be honest with you, because I do feel a bit bad for snitching on ABS, but they are rocking a set of different liveries, unfortunately. But that's okay, as long as no one reports it and we all are in agreement that let's just give ABS a break for a moment.
Yeah, they're rocking different liveries.
One of them's got some sponsors on, the other one doesn't, unfortunately.
Oh.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's not the end of the world. I feel like we give ABS a little bit of slack there. As long as ABS hasn't reported anyone for hex code colours, I feel like we can give them a little bit of leeway on that one. But of course, they'll be looking to try and get something out of this race. It's going to be a very tall mountain to climb, but when you've got drivers such as Kamil Stachera, only a few cars in front of you for Pascal Ranieri, there's an opportunity. There's certainly a little bit of wiggle room, especially considering so many cars up in the top half are on that medium compounded tyre, and they will naturally have to go to those horrendous hard tyres around this circuit, which will offer next to no pace. Even on a lighter tank of fuel, lighter cars, you would feel like it would be more nimble, more agile, you'd be able to chip the car in a little bit more, but those hard tyres just won't necessarily accept it. So It'll be interesting to see how they're going to be able to fare. Lolo's gone for a set of medium tyres, so looking to potentially drag him out for 20 laps here. Not saying it's impossible, but I wouldn't want to do that, that's for sure.
Certainly, as we do see there, Angelo D'Ortenzio getting ahead of Tudor Pressacan, and it hasn't gone too well here for Tudor. Of course, has qualified in P3, now sits P10. So a big shame there for Tudor and the TRC team indeed. Not the way they would have expected this one to go after qualifying so high. As we just go on board here with Topias Koivunen heading through towards turn 4, of course just behind Julian Klavenbach, who has managed to bring that gap down there just to, well now, just under a second here. That is what R8G needed there for Julie, just to get back within a second of Jan Halliday and create a bit more of a race for the lead again, rather than Jan Halliday leading away and the battle being for second place. Of course, we can see Pinta, of course, still not being too happy on these hards, but the same can go for everybody else on the hard tyres. They just haven't reached their optimum performance yet, and the mediums are still within their optimum range, or at least still within a good range compared to the hards. Of course, Jerry Van Bussel maybe will be looking to get past Lenny within the next 2 laps here.
Absolutely, but silver lining, once he gets off that hard compound tyre, he's got to have a fresh set, medium tyres, a little bit more grip, a lighter fuel load. He'll be absolutely flying. As long as he's able to hold on to this pack, hold on to the DRS of Topias Koivunen in front of him, he should be in for a very good result here. Should be aiming for potentially a race win, depending on how much Jan Halliday is able to pull away. But it looks like Jan is opting to not deploy battery to try and escape too much, as Julian's been able to deploy a little bit more battery to catch back up towards the rear of Jan to get within that DRS window. Exactly what he needs to do. But is this all just heading into Jan Halliday's hands? Is this sort of the role he wants to take? Does he want to try and maybe play a little bit of mind games, just hold on to the race lead, not burn battery, and then when it comes out the final real corner, out of the braking zone, out of the traction zone, is that going to be the moment he's going to be looking to try and deploy the battery?
That's early.
And build a gap? I mean, it's early, but at the same time, what is it really worth not trying something a bit different? You're at the back of a grid, you've had an instant, you're out of the DRS range of most of the pack. Surely you got to try something. So I don't blame Dylan or Little C for opting to go against the grain, to be honest with you.
No, I suppose, yeah, they might as well try something different. If they know they're not going to move forward with the train, I suppose just go for a heavy undercut. But the good thing for them is it makes those drivers around them react and possibly also think of going a bit earlier. And then, of course, the drivers ahead of them have to go earlier. So it does start to, form a bit of a, what's the word?
Concertina effect.
Yes, that's it. Of everybody all having to pit together, just so they can all not have to worry about having that undercut on them, that heavy undercut. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, tyre wear I don't think is that high around here, hence why you can go so early on the undercuts. As we do see here, Koivunen very close to the back of Klaffenbach, but the good thing is because Julian's so close to the rear of Jan, he could just use Jan there to, be closed down and then just go for the overtake if he needs to. But Topias is burning the battery here. He's going to go to the inside into turn 1. Julian's also looking to go to the inside of Halliday. And there we can see Topias being clever and backing out. And also Jerry Van Bussel pitting early here, along with, I believe, Ryan Grob. So very early pitters here from those on the mediums. I suppose they just thought, right, those on the hards, they're still struggling. We've used most of our medium range, they're going to start to drop off, so we might as well pit now, get onto a set hards and kind of get past that, not grinding phase, but get past that horrible phase at the start to work them in and just try and, drag ourselves along and catch up.
Absolutely, and, when you are seeing the likes of Topias Koivunen and
look at Lenny
Julian,
now, right on the back of
them. Exactly. When these guys start applying pressure, they're all just losing time with each other. If you're able to be able to pull off a little bit of an undercut, maybe try and tuck back in and try and maybe trade a little bit of DRS for a couple drivers who might have already pit. I'm looking at the example CZK, Lola Vera, just trade a little bit of DRS, try and pull that distance back to Ryan. You could be looking to gain a couple extra positions as well, given how close the rest of the field is. Most of them all looking to still battle. Of course, now you've got both of the Veloce Academy cars working together as well in P7 and P8 respectively, looking to try and hunt down Lillian, who's feeling a little bit more pressure, and of course has Nelson in front to kind of leave away. But ideally, from a championship perspective, that's the last car you want to be picking DRS off of and using to get a slipstream to get away from your next closest championship rivals behind you. It's a bit of a sticky situation there for Derbycourt, but we know how Derbycourt, somewhat negotiates these moments. We've seen it before in PCF 3, PCF 2 respectively. Very, very wise head on young shoulders, to say the least.
He knows what he's doing, that's for sure. He knows where to place his car at the right time and knows when to pit, and obviously that's also due to the fact he has a good team behind him, as we do see there. Larry Tolkien heading to the pit lane. We'll be going to a set of hards. We'll be taking those to the end of the Grand Prix. And let's just see how far back Larry comes out compared to the others. Of course, he's going to get jumped by Jerry Van Bussel. Let's see how far back compared to Ryan Grob. Ryan's going to be heading down to turn 1 very shortly, and I think for now, Larry's got it covered. Yeah, he has. Comes out a couple seconds ahead. So, the overcut working, but not as much as I would have liked.
I think if that was left for maybe another 2 laps, I feel like Ryan would have been able to get a jump on Larry there and be able to keep his head down and keep moving. But, I mean, you see there, 7 seconds between Jerry and Larry, considering they were... well, not necessarily in the same train, but there was only 2 seconds difference between the train at the point when they pit.
And that's why Schuder's so slow. He's got damage.
Oh dear. Front end plate?
Yes, on the right-hand side, sorry. So that must have been probably lap 1 when he dropped back, didn't he? He dropped back a few positions quite instantly. So it must have been turn 1 or just some part in that first set where he picked up that damage and, of course, drops all the way down. Big shame there for Tudor because he was looking in such a good position after having that P3 in qualifying.
At least he'll be rapid on the straight, I suppose. It's not exactly an ideal trade-off, but pit window is shortly going to open for the remainder of the medium compound runners who aren't looking to try and go for a very early undercut. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Jan Halliday and Tobias Koivunen both into the pits, leaving Julian Klaffenbach out there as the lead medium runner, and only PSGL Ranieri still out there on mediums with him. As I say that, Ranieri dives it into the pits. Now Julian is the sole starting medium compound runner left out there, and he's got Lenny Verpinter on the hard compound tyre to keep him company for the remainder of this lap before he inevitably dives it in the pits to go over to the hards for the last 16 laps of this race. Surely. Side
by side with Koivunen in towards turn 3. Just about gets ahead, of course, been on warmer tyres, and he's now about a second off the back of Jan Halliday, so has to try and bring that gap down quickly before Jan runs away once again. That gap's 1.1 seconds heading into turn number 3. Then into turn 4 at the right-hander. Has that gap count down below a second? It's right on the cusp, isn't it, Josh?
Yeah, and Jerry, you can see the red light flashing on the back of his car, indicating he's harvesting a little bit of battery. See on his wheel as well, his battery isn't looking too great. It's around that 30% mark, so he's going to have to be very delicate with where he's deploying it and how he's deploying it to ensure he holds onto the DRS, because this will be crucial for not only his race but CPI's championship at this moment in time. They're looking to just try and grab every single point available on the cards, and if you're able to follow Jan Halliday, all the way through and be able to just keep within touch on 2-lap older tyres, that's going to create such a great opportunity for you to be able to pick up a couple extra points that you might not have been able to get slightly earlier on in the race. But with that being said, it's all going to come back down towards this straight. It looks like he's securely within DRS for... Yes, he will be. He absolutely will be. Brilliant traction there as well, as I do believe Julian's dove into the pits as well. So it'll be interesting to see where Julian's going to come out in all of this. On a 1-lap fresher tyre, might not necessarily be worth of... I don't feel like it'll
contact into turn 1, and that was close to ending in the barriers. So, Debecourt broke a little bit late and hit the back of Benzoni, then got dragged toward Angelo on the outside, and then Nelson cut through the inside, and 3 of them nearly ended up in the barriers. That was a scary moment there for Debecourt, D'Ortenzio, and for Alves, and also Benzoni initially into turn 1. As we head our way through, still going side by side, Debecourt's got the inside line to Angelo. Angelo D'Ortenzio has to try and drag it around the outside and nearly into the barriers once again as they head into turns 5 and 6. And D'Ortenzio sends it in. Slight bit of contact there. Tries to go for the switchback. Debecourt doesn't carry as much speed through. And D'Ortenzio just taps the back of him heading down to turn 7. And then Pressacan looks to close in.
Thankfully, no damage somehow. A little bit of bump drafting. It's not exactly... getting very close to the wall there as well for Lillian, pushing it very hard for the castle section, trying to gain every thousandth of a second advantage on Angelo behind, just to make sure he's safe and just to close back within that DRS range, because that'll be worst case scenario for Lillian, being on that hard compound tyre with Angelo directly racing for position here and not being within touch of DRS. Now there's Ryan Gross.
And that's a safety car. That has helped Lenny Pinter heavily.
Well, I don't want to jinx anything. Will Gibson might be putting me on his hit list. Do we dare think about double stacks?
Let's watch. I want to watch Angelo.
I
There's no
right.
way Ricardo Bez. No, he won't because he's 7 seconds behind Lenny. Right, let's see Angelo. If he gets a double stack.
I don't want to.
Oh, we slow it down even more so he doesn't get one. So hopefully he heads into the pits once all the others have left. But let's see.
It's
Into
not
the
looking
pits
good,
goes
Chief.
Angelo. Oh, but he's
Okay.
safe. Veloci
He's
Academy,
safe.
Josh, have got a race without a double stack.
Oh my word, it's finally happened. I've got no excuse now to not get a 1-2, basically. Daniele Parodi getting held up, though, with a double stack there. TRT are not going to be happy
Oh,
with that,
Halliday's
to say the
pitted.
least.
Halliday's gone into the pits, back onto mediums.
Oh, you might as well. You might as well. If you're going to be able to get a fresher tyre and back towards, a medium compact, you might as well go for it. Topius Covered and Jerry Van Bussel and Jutin Klappenbach all sticking out. They've been hard done by on this safety car. Dylan Warren here getting another lease of life as well as CZK and who else was caught up in that incident at the back? Harvey as well, up into P10 now. They've all got a new opportunity. Lillian Derbycourt, I do believe, might have been double stacked there, falling down to P9.
Well, this race has opened up once again here. Papinta leads the way, but I think either way, Papinta was on possibly for the win because he was in such a good position heading into the pit stop phase for himself. You know, give it maybe 3 or 4 laps, he would have been into the pit lane and onto brand new tyres.
Absolutely.
And also, Josh, you're quiet again.
Honestly, this microphone's going to have it.
I'm not playing around no more.
Oh,
I said I was going to
TF10
throw
got
hands
double
on it.
stacked.
Oh dear.
That would have been Laminan there. Behind.
Someone-
oh, no.
yeah.
Daniele was also changing his wing when Tubas came back behind.
Oh, that is outrageous. And Daniele got held up as well.
Big shame there for Tumas.
Well, good news. It's a safety car. Everyone's backed up. Everyone's reorganised. Everyone should be in the same DRS train. It should create many opportunities for these drivers to be able to race with one another. And now they're going to have another lap under the safety car, waiting for Pascal Ranieri just to catch back up to the field. But if you're Utopia's Covenant, Jerry Van Bussel, Julian Klappenbach, what's your strategy? What's your plan? Because to me, you've got to try something on Lenny Papinta, otherwise you're giving him a race win.
Pretty much.
Well, I mean, how would you even go about it,
I think
Nathan? Because turn one, I don't feel like's on the cards, right?
Spencer and that have got to send it. They've got to, because we saw earlier the gap between the mediums and the hards, and now that gap's going to be even bigger because we're on lower fuel. So Lenny's got to, his aim will be to get everybody right to the line, push, because he doesn't want Benza to sit. He doesn't want to go, maybe a few hundred metres before the line, because then Benza's got a longer run into turn one to burn the battery and get past Julian. He wants to go as late as possible, so that gap to turn one is even shorter. We know it's a very short run anyway into turn one. So the later he goes, the less opportunity Benza, Alves, Hortensio have behind. So that's the main thing for Lenny. Go as late as he can, keep those guys behind. The first sector, it's tricky to make a move. So then Lenny's hope is that Topius, Jerry, Julian, keep all those medium runners behind through that first sector. That's his hope. He can run away. He's got the race win sorted. Lenny's been on this game for absolute years. He knows what he's doing. He's not stupid. And if he can if he can turn an opportunity into a win, he'll take it more than anyone because he's just clever. He's experienced. He's that good. People call him a cheater. So let's just put it that way. He's that good.
There you go. Quote of the day. He's just clever.
Yeah,
From
pretty
Nathan
much.
Richards.
And he's
just
wise.
clever.
He's a wise man. He's not that old. He's only about, I think, 20. So he's not that old. But he's still wise.
Yeah. Exactly. And, with everything being said, Race Clutch have got a fantastic team behind them. We saw last year in E-Series, they were very strong. This year they've been strong as well. Not as strong as last year, but, all those cogs behind the team, all whirring at the same time, all trying to make sure they were able to get the best result. And honestly, before the safety car, I feel like they might have been on for a 1-2. They had both of the hard compound runners up towards that front 5 with a great opportunity to try and extend the point gap back to P4 and try and overtake the likes of VA and close the distance up to TES. That being said now, Jan Halliday giving himself a lot of work to do with the safety car heading in this lap, Nathan.
It is indeed. Papinta leads the way ahead of Topius Koivunen and Jerry Van Bussel in third. Of course, looking at the field, we've got everybody on mediums, bar 3. And that being the cars sitting 2nd, 3rd and 4th. They chose not to go back in. The others did.
Oh dear.
So let's see what happens now. As we see Lenny here, leaving it very late, of course, going really slow. All the cars behind, those on the hards especially, getting those tyres warmed up. It's harder to warm up a hard than it is a medium. So get those tyres nice and warmed up. Lenny doing the exact same thing, but he's controlling the pace. He can sit fine there and just keep those tyres getting warmed up. You can see a few cars behind, trying the Kimi Raikkonen strat of just not bothering, just going in a straight line and just waiting for the others to react here. Of course, we've got
I've seen cars go quicker.
Yes,
on the
definitely,
M6 toll.
Definitely. So we've got 13 laps to go in this race. Safety cars in. Pinto controls the start. And let's see what happens to turn 1. I'm going to go on board with Riccardo Benzoni, Josh. So take us away.
Here we go. We'll see. Now Lenny's put his foot down. He's created a great gap there. 5 attempts already to Topius Koivunen, being able to catch him unaware off the shoot there. And we can see Angelo D'Ortenzio now making a move as soon as possible on Nelson Alves. Nelson Alves is being caught napping there. He falls down to P7. The VA cars are exactly in a position they need to be. P5, P6 looking to move themselves slightly further forward. But what a restart there from Lenny Pinto, being able to break away, creating a little bit of a gap to the hard compound tyre runners. Riccardo Benzoni not necessarily getting the start he would be hoping for. And now he's going to have the painful job of having to sit behind and wait throughout this middle sector, unless he's going to be looking to try for a very bold, audacious move in this middle sector. It'd be challenging, but we know that tyre advantage. He's deploying the battery. He's looking left here, but he won't be able to sneak one up the inside. He's just going to have to wait and bide his time until after the castle section. There'll be no hope whatsoever. Tobias Koivunen is doing a fantastic job deploying the battery, trying to hold on to the back of Lenny Pinto. Exactly what he needs to do in order to try and keep this race alive for as long as possible. Question is everyone going to be able to make it through the castle section okay? Is everyone's tyres in an optimal window? It looks like everyone's been able to make it through perfectly fine, and no one has broken that DRS gap. You will have to excuse the graphic you see on the left-hand side. There is no safety car. We don't have the Aston Martin or Mercedes out at the moment. Everyone is currently racing for position. It's a feature. I wouldn't worry about it too much, but Lenny Pinto certainly isn't having a care in the world because he's broke out that DRS gap already.
But he's got to hope he can keep it. He's got to burn a bit of battery here just to keep that gap above a second here. 1.1 as we head our way out to the final couple of corners here. Back down to the first corner to begin at lap 15 of 26. And Pinto leads the way with a comfortable margin now. Van Bussel closes in to make a move. So does Klaffenbach here, who burns all the battery, goes to the outside here of 2 of the other hard runners and goes into second place. Van Bussel keeps it up the inside, though, of Topius Koivunen, who hits the barrier. Heading out to turn 1, that could have caused a bit of damage, and that allows Benzoni now to try and go for a move up the inside through turn number 2 and get himself up into 4th place. A brilliant move there by Benzoni, and now has to try and close down on the back of Van Bussel. We go 3 wide into turn 3. That could end badly. Benzoni has to make the send there. D'Ortenzio as well making a move to get ahead of Topius Koivunen. Now the medium tyres can strike and try and get past these old hards as Nelson Alves makes a move, and next will be Kamil Satra.
Yep, Koivunen's front right end plate has been broken off from that contact in turn 1. Kamil Satra is certainly looking very quick. He's looking very eager to try and make a move on Lilian Derbycourt. And with all that battling between the hard compound runners, it's just given Lenny Pinto that little bit of extra breathing room he needs. He's been able to pull out another half a second, exactly what he'll be hoping for.
It's over a second.
He's done an absolutely fantastic job. And of course, a little bit of that was helped by Julian Klaffenbach making that double overtake down the main straight. But we know Julian is not going to be happy just sitting in P2 at the moment. He knows he's going to have to keep pushing all the way until the end of a race. He's not on a favourable tyre. He's on a better tyre than Jerry at the moment. But when you've got both of the Lotte Academy cars behind Hunting, you've got Lilian Derbycourt, Kamil Satra, Harvey Cohen, all of them on fresh and medium tyres behind you. There's only so much longer you'll be able to hold out. It goes without saying, really. Especially now Topius has got damage as well. He's going to be falling all the way down the order when it comes back round to that middle sector. He'll be able to hold on down the straight for as long as possible. We're going to be seeing cars go 2, 3, 4 wide potentially down this main straight. Heading into turn 1. We've got Kamil Satra almost going into the pit wall. My word!
This is insane. We've got 3 wide into turn 1. Derbycourt's being put into the middle of them all. Jan Halliday as well, looking to try and find a way through. Koivunen as well, still on the outside into turn number 2. Jan Halliday's got the better inside line and he can try and get ahead of Koivunen. He's got to pull ahead here, otherwise he could be in a spot of trouble, but he gets the move complete. And now it's Daniele Parodi's turn. Down to turn 3. To the inside he goes. Tries to make a send. Nearly catches Halliday to turn 3. That could have ended in dramatic scenes there for Jan Halliday, but still, They both stay in P11 and P12. Looking further ahead now, Benzoni is on the back of Jerry Van Bussel. He'll be the next car to make a move. And somehow L'Oliveira's gone straight on at turn 3.
Yep, got a bit of contact there. L'Oliveira and Tumas Labanon both having contact in turn 3, both going straight on. Unfortunate for both of them. Thankful to not bring out another safety car here, because we have got some very fascinating racing and some very different strategies now seeming to emerge. We've got the VAs trying just to hold on to the back of these hard compound tyres for a little bit longer, maybe looking to try and recharge a bit more battery before looking to go for a move. Then maybe looking to try and close distance on Lenny Papinta, but Lenny, at this moment in time, seems so comfortable out in front. He's broke the DRS train. He's able to recharge his battery as well. He's sitting currently on 80%, so he seems like he's got a brilliant little bit of a buffer here, and definitely one of the favourites to go on and win this race. But we've got so many drivers here, all lining up, ready to keep this battle going all the way back down into turn 1. Let's see if we're going to get any more 4 wide moments.
Well, Veloce Academy can work together again to close down on the hard runners. They get past Jerry Van Bussel. Are they close enough to Julian Klaffenbach? Not on this occasion. We do see further back there, Tudor Pressacam making a move ahead of Harvey Cohen. Camel Stature there making a move ahead of Lillian Derbagor, who drops down to P10 in this race. And also ZZK there getting ahead of Topias Corviden to jump up into P16. As we head our way down to turn 3 again for the 17th time. Do we get any moves? No, we don't. What about Nelson Alves? He's looking for a send into turn 3 to get ahead of Jerry Van Bussel. Jerry keeps it around the outside into turn 4. And let's see, can Nelson try and get the move again? No, he can't, Jerry. Very close to pushing Nelson into the barriers, and Nelson still has to try and keep his foot in here as they head into turn 5. And pardon me, they're nearly lost my breath fully.
I mean, it's just the way it's going so far here in round 9. It's been absolutely incredible. Everyone absolutely going for it. It's just been utterly fantastic. No one's somewhat held back in the first stint, and of course that safety car, all of a sudden it's looking like an F2 sprint race because everyone's absolutely sending it. Tudor Presscan 2.6 and 2.7 seconds now off the back of Jerry Van Bussel. Maybe these hard compound tyres have been able to find themselves in a window where they're going to be able to secure themselves a P6 and a P2, but of course that's all going to depend back down on the run to turn 1. Could expect Julian to maybe lose out a couple extra positions, but as long as Jerry Van Bussel's able to hold on to, well, a top 6 finish, it'll be an absolutely remarkable result for CPI, especially considering they pit just before the safety car as well. It's certainly not favoured them in any regard, but Tudor Presscan's still carrying that little bit of damage. I'm sure that's helping him just scurry away down the straight just a little bit by not having a front end plate. But that being said, the rest of the drivers still looking very hungry behind. Ricardo Benzoni's been able to make the move on to Julian Klaffenbach down into turn 1. Unfortunately, though, for VA, Angelo D'Ortenzio not able to follow his teammate through, try and close up that gap. But now Ricardo Benzoni has to push if he's after this race win here.
Contact into turn 2 there between Halliday and Stature as they head their way to turn 2, still taking it side by side, and they've got to push the battery all the way to the end. You can see Jan has no battery, neither does Camel. This is a big fight here for Jan Halliday to get up into P11. Camel's going to have to try and hang it around the outside. He does hang it around the outside for now, and still keeps it into P11 to the inside into turn 4. Brilliant defence there by Stature to keep Halliday behind, and they continue on again. Unless Jan Halliday looks for a bit of an eager move, he can't. He's too far back into turn 5. And still, Stature keeps himself ahead. But I've got to say, where has Harvey Cohen came from? No, sits in P7. And he was what? Near the back, dead last earlier on?
Yeah, and he's just been able to make his way through on Tudor Presscan, which has been absolutely fantastic. He's just going to have to keep his head down and keep chipping away. Of course, not having a great qualifier, not even able to get a lap time on the board. That invalidating it. My microphone has once again decided to go quiet. I'm genuinely at wit's end with it at this point. But Harvey, I mean, as far as races go, he's been able to shape this one into something absolutely beautiful. I'm sure the safety car might have helped him out a little bit, but who's gonna hit a gift horse in the mouth, to be honest with you.
Let's see here. Alves is looking to make a move ahead of D'Ortenzio. As we head our way back then to turn 1, we can see there Klaffenbach is going to try and get past Benzoni again. Of course, those two just trading that DRS. We've got Alves looking to close in on D'Ortenzio, who just burns a bit more battery and keeps the head in P4 for now. We've got Halliday as well going ahead of Stature yet again. And can he get the move complete this time? More than early. Halliday goes up into P11 now and can try and close down on Daniele Parodi. And we do see there Harvey Cohen looking to just keep swapping that DRS here with Tudor Pressaccan, who's moved up into P7 again, looking to try and compensate for the race he had earlier on. At one point it was looking very dire for Tudor Pressaccan, as we do see as well Lillian Derbacor closing in on the rear of Harvey Cohen as well, trying to keep getting as many points as possible here for Race Clutch, of course. Papinta in the lead, but that gap with that DRS swapping is starting to come down quickly. So Papinta hasn't got that advantage he had a couple of laps ago. That's starting to head down.
Exactly. Only thing drivers might need to be a little bit concerned about is how many laps are left. Of course, 7 laps left. With the rate they're going, they'll be able to catch up to Lenny Papinta. But of course, it's one thing to catch, it's another one to time the overtake in order to be able to get yourself into that winning position. You don't want to pull the trigger too early, but when you've got both of the VA cars behind you on better tyres at this moment in the race, of course, 7-lap-old mediums are still going to be more favourable compared to the old compared to the 8-lap-old hard tyres. It's going to be one of those where they're just going to have to wait for that moment and make sure Julian doesn't necessarily pull a sneaky one and wait for those hard tyres to be in a better position in comparison to the mediums at the end of this race, which I feel like would happen around, I want to say, lap 10, lap 11 of the tyre age. So we'll be looking at lap 23, 24 is when those hard tyres should be coming into a window on their own.
As we do see here, Alves again looking to close in on the back of D'Ortenzio, but can't find the move. Pressercan making a move ahead of Cohen and ahead of Van Bussel into turn one. Slight bit of contact there as we do see Lillian Derbicourt looking to try and find an opportunity, looking to try and get ahead of Van Bussel. Goes to the left, can't make it. Goes to the right also. Can't make that move there. A big shame indeed for Lillian Derbicourt. Still looking to try and push forward here for Race Clutch. This time pulls to the inside, uses a lot more battery, has a lot more grip and goes up into P8 now here for Race Clutch. So they sit P1 and P8. We have Veloce Academy sitting P3 and P4 and TES sitting P5 and P11 at the moment. It's looking like it is going to go the way of Veloce Academy in terms of actually keeping that championship battle alive heading into the final round at Brazil.
Absolutely, and it's just going to pull Race Clutch along with it as well, so I wouldn't rule them out as of yet, because Lillian Derbicourt seems to be on an absolute barnstorm. Look to try and get past whoever they possibly can. And I do believe got another yellow flag there for Tomas Lamminen in turn 3. Turn 3's been a secret killer this race, hasn't it? We've already had 2 cars go off there, of course, Lolo and Tomas earlier on in the race. But it's not the end of the world. They're just going to have to keep their head down because, of course, all finishers receive a point here in PSGL E-Series. Of course, last week we had... Who was it? It was one of the TF10 drivers, wasn't it?
What?
Was it Saros who went around like 12, 13 seconds off the back of everyone else and was able to bring home a point?
No. Don't know who that is.
Elias.
He's not in TF10. He's in IRT or something. Forgot now.
It was someone. Someone went round
I
at the back.
forgot where he joined. I forgot what team he joined. I know he joined a team recently, as we do see there. Derbicourt making a move ahead of Pressercan, and we do see there. Is that Jan Halliday into contact? No, it wasn't. That was lucky there for Jan. It was someone else having a bit of an incident. It was Lamminen again, this time at turn number 16, and this time has no front wing to his name. Not ideal there for TF10 at all. Gotta hope he can get it back to the pits, because this corner is horrible with no front wing. I think everybody knows that. You've got to just force it through and try not to hit the barriers, and he does. So he'll be back into the pits.
Yes, but new front wing, new opportunity. Be able to take away a point for fastest lap, stop another team from getting it. Of course, every little helps with Ryan not finishing the race. Ideally, you're going to want at least one car to finish here at round 9 in Baku. Of course, it is a very difficult race. It's a very mentally taxing one as well, which I'm sure anyone who's driven this track at home, even in career mode, will know that over the amount of minutes you spend at this track, those walls just feel like they're getting closer and closer with each lap which goes by.
Yep, they do. It's not fun at all. It's such a difficult track to get right, and there we have a right battle on our hands, as we do see Benzoni and D'Ortenzio. If they could get a 1-2, that would be perfect, as unfortunately we use...
Well,
that looks a bit dodgy, if you ask me. No front wing, and turn 1 goes straight into the barriers. Not want to make assumptions, but...
Well, I suppose everyone can go into the pits now for a fresh set of soft tyres. I mean, Julian Klavenbach certainly seems to be doing so, and I don't blame him one bit.
Oh, but he's... Oh! Papinta stay... Oh, they're all staying out! As Klavenbach... No, because other people are pitting. I mean, TF10 love to throw a curveball, and they certainly have in this race. Soft tyres are all around. Veloce Academy think no. Mediums are the way to go.
Okay, so how are we going to deal with Crashgate here in E-Series? Because I know Kryptonite wasn't necessarily a fan of all the antics which happened around Spa. How's he going to feel about this one?
I mean, I'm not going to say it was
Wheel
done on purpose,
disconnect.
but I'd like to know the excuse behind that. Because
I hope
he's
it's a wheel
right.
disconnect.
One or two things. He's either not pitted and gone to turn one and binned it, locking up, or he's gone into the pit lane and somehow binned it into the wall on the exit of the pit lane.
He's done that because he's changed tyres.
But that's no excuse.
Yeah, but I'm saying he's gone into the pit lane. He was on a fresh set of softs.
Well,
Perhaps his wheel's just disconnected and it's just kicked him straight out of the pit lane into the wall. I'm going to give benefit of a doubt there, but I'm sure someone will have the VOD and I'm sure someone will be stalking it in the steward's office later on this evening. But that being said, Julian Clafenbach sitting in P6, fresh set of soft tyres, followed by Nelson Alves, Harvey Cohen, Tudor Preshkan, and Daniele Parodi. And I do believe Tudor might have also been able to repair his front wing.
indeed.
No.
So.
Oh, yeah, he has. Okay, right. Oh,
Curveball's been thrown into this one. 4 laps to go. Soft tyres all around. But those are the mediums. They're going to try and get it to the end. And the key thing is, 2 teams have took the risk of staying out. Riccardo Benzone, it's not a team, Porsche Academy and Race Clutch, who are both in the total fight. Now, they've got to try something different here. Because if, just say, this soft tyre thing doesn't work and TES can't pass Race Clutch and Veloce Academy, boom, championship fight is on. But if it does happen and these guys on the mediums drop down, TES can say, thank you very much, we've wrapped it up here.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be one of those, isn't it, where it doesn't matter. It's very much like Abu Dhabi 21. It doesn't matter really what you do. I mean, either way, you can both be painted in the wrong. If you go into the pits at this moment as the leader, such as Julian has done, and those medium tyres, they're just able to hold into the DRS train, you're not able to make a move. You've got egg on your face,
But
you're
Josh,
looking a little embarrassed because you've just thrown away a race win.
the safety
But on
car's
the
gone
other
again.
hand-
So we're going to be on lap. There's only going to be what? 2 laps?
Yeah, 2 racing laps. But then on the other hand, if those medium tyres end up squabbling too much and you're able to dance around the outside in Sector 2 and get a great run, you're shooting for a podium and you look like an absolute superstar.
Yeah, definitely.
It can go either way.
I mean, we've had race finishes that have ended dramatically before, but this is probably going to go in the history books of E-Series. Lap 21, car bins it, has an issue. Safety car comes out. Pretty much 2/3 of the field pit for softs. One of them being the championship leaders who can wrap it up in the end. 5 people stay out on mediums. 2 of them being the championship contending teams who need to finish ahead of TES on the softs. This race is going to be... It's going to set up Brazil perfectly. Either result, it's going to set up Brazil for a perfect ending. TES can win it around early and have a victory race. Or we have a total fight on the final Grand Prix around the most chaotic track, which provides racing at every single corner. This is going to be brilliant here.
Even to add on to that, a 3-way title fight. Because Race Clutch, they're bringing points. P1, P4, if they're able to hold on to that, all of a sudden, TES sit in P7 and P11. If Jan Halliday's not able to make any moves at a rapid rate at knots once the safety car goes in,
I mean,
it's all going to get very tense very quickly.
People are going to call me soft and stupid, but my heart is beating quite quickly at the moment because as a commentator, this is a thing I love, and I'll say it every time. And every commentator that has worked with me will know I want a total fight on the final race. I love it when I see a team win, but I want them to win at the end, not before the end. So,
yeah, exactly. And then to do so around into Lagos.
Also talk there again, Josh. Your mic has gone quiet. Please don't make it go quiet at the end, Josh.
Right, we're back up. As well, into Lagos. There's not a better way to wrap up a championship, in my opinion, as my microphone has just decided to... okay, right. We're back.
Right. I'm going to go on board with Julian for this, Josh, because I feel like that's the perfect view of the chaos ahead.
I'm not sure, mate. I am
you can
not
take
sure.
It away.
I don't
have it. It's yours.
I'm not sure because I have no idea realistically what's going to happen because all these medium tyre compound runners, both VA cars, both Race Clutch cars, might be in the same window. They might be thinking alike here. They might be thinking, right, realistically, we're both in for a shot of a championship. Let's just take it over to next week. Let's work together as they have gone early here. Julian Klappenbach's being squeezed all the way into a wall there by Camel Satchero. That's very, very cheeky. I'm sure the stewards are going to have a look at that as Camel Satchero did everything there and maybe a little bit too much to hold on to that position. But we do have Lillian Derbicourt and Angelo D'Ortenzio battling it out here with Lillian looking to try and get the upper edge heading into turn 2. Brilliant stuff there from a race clutch driver, and Julian Klappenbach currently now just having to sit behind. He'll be looking to deploy the DRS as quick as possible. He's already been almost forced into the wall here from Camel, and he's going to be almost forced into the wall again. Camel placed his car very strategically, perhaps a little bit cheekily as well, as Julian now is just forced to wait behind, and now he's going to get dove down the inside here by Nelson Alves, who's not waiting around any longer. He's looking to try and make that move and be the leading soft compound runner, so he's in the most favourable position to jump on these medium compound runners. But Julian is certainly looking to try and get past Camel any which way possible. He's all over the back of Camel as well, but Camel is doing everything in his power, everything in the rulebooks, and then some to hold back the R8G driver. But something tells me it might not be enough once it heads back down towards that start-finish straight, because that'll be when the battery deploys, the slipstream will take effect, and Julian will be able to outbrake him down into turn 1. But Camel is certainly giving it to the best of his abilities, and Riccardo Benzoni is doing a great job of keeping Lenny Pinto honest out front as well. All the cars seemingly have made it through this restart lap okay, with no damage being picked up anywhere.
And we go again. Here we go. Down to turn 1 for lap 25 and 26. And let's see, can Julian find that move? Can Nelson find that move here? They want to get ahead of Camel as quick as possible. Julian nearly into the barriers as they head out to the final corner. And down to turn 1 we go. One car gets past Camel, so does 2 cars. Can Harvey Cohen make it 3? As we head into turn 1, we might even go 3 wide. We've got RH on the outside, TES on the outside line into turn 1. Let's see what happens here. And Nelson can't find a move. He gets slung all the way over to the left-hand side and could even get overtaken here by TRT. Into turn 2 we go. And Camel still trying to hold it out here against Alves. And they're still going to go side by side down to turn 3. And here comes Tuna Pressakan straight into P7. Alves drops down to P9 as TRT worked brilliantly. It's not going well at all here for TES. They're trying to take the championship on the final lap of this race, and it's not going to work because these medium cars somehow have held it to the road, and the 2 teams that have done so are the 2 championship contending teams, Race Clutch and Veloci Academy. And what can they still do to keep these cars behind? Angelo can't do anything, as we do have Julian sending it into turn 7 to try and make a move, and for now Julian's got himself up into P4. Could we see a double podium for R8G here?
Potentially, and I'm looking at Camel here. He's causing absolute chaos at the moment. He's lost an end plate, and I feel like he's took 2 of us out with him. Jan Halliday's next to try and get past as well, but we know Camel's defending already has been a little bit questionable. But this time, Jan Halliday is able to sneak himself all the way back past, but Camel was not willing to give up any position anywhere in that mid-pack there. He was forced out, and then he was put in a vulnerable position, but Julian Klappenbach doing exactly what he needs to do. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's going to be looking to try and get a race win here once again. Harvey Cohen going to be next up here, getting past Angelo D'Ortenzio. Beautiful stuff around the outside of that SE section before the start-finish straight. He'll be looking now just to tuck back in the slipstream here of Lillian Derbicourt. They're going to be looking to try and grab as many points as possible. With this all being said, Race Clutch and VA might have to start thinking about potentially being track mates just to ensure they're going to carry as many points as possible and close the distance up to CES, because Nelson Alves and Jan Halliday certainly having a race to forget at the moment after that second safety car restart.
They are. Here we can see here Angelo D'Ortenzio is being swamped by the field now as we see Nelson Alves in that battle trying to get ahead of Angelo D'Ortenzio. That is what TES need at this point as we head our way down towards turn number 3 and 4 again, and Julian's got past Lenny. He's now going to try and get past Riccardo Benzoni. Remember, this is the final lap of this race as we head our way into turn number 5. Riccardo Benzoni is in the lead, but for how much longer? Harvey Cohen gets ahead of Lillian Derbicourt. 1 Race Clutch dispatched. He's got to get 1 more as we head our way down to turn 7. There we see Daniele Parodi for TRT. Earlier on, he was nowhere in this race. He's now in the top 5, and we could see side by side, unless Lillian backs out, which he does, as we head our way through into turn 13 here for the final time in this race. This might have been the best race we've had this championship here in PSGL E-Series this season, season number 5. It's a penultimate round, and of course, the way it's going at the moment with TES in P9 and P11, we could see a championship fight go to Brazil, the final round of the season. But the question is, can Benzoni hold off the lead? I don't think he can, because Julian's right on his tail as we head our way through in towards the last couple of corners. A few kings to the left, a few kings to the right, and then of course it's burning the batteries, getting that DRS open late here for Julian Klavenbach as we head our way up to the line. Will it be RAG? Will it be Veloce Academy to take the victory here for raid number 9 of the season? I think it's Julian Klavenbach. Yes, it is. RAG take the victory here ahead of Veloce Academy. Lenny Papinta somehow holding on to third, and Harvey Cohen so close to a podium, finishing in P4. And I think, Josh, it's safe to say we go again. Round 10, the championship battle is on.
Oh, my word. Could we have asked for anything more? Could we have got a better penultimate race before heading into Interlagos? I don't feel like we could. That was absolutely outrageous. How did Harvey go from P19?
Yes.
All the way
Literally.
that is absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, I'm going to try and work out in my head here the points scored
Oh,
by each team once we go into the final. So I'm going to take a picture. Then while you talk, I'm going to work out the points gap. Because I think that's what everybody wants to know. Of course, pre-penalties, of course. We want to know
Yes.
what we're looking at. So, Josh, why didn't you read us through the results?
absolutely. It would be my pleasure. We've got Julian Klaffenbach picking up a win from P10 on the grid. A cheeky 2-stop race, both on the safety car. Do as you please. He's going to be able to pick up the maximum amount of points here in the race. Riccardo Benzoni sitting at P2 and Lenny Papinta P3, rounding out your podium. Harvey Cohen from P19 on the grid to P4. Daniele Pirodi from last on the grid to P5. Brilliant stuff there from him, and he picks up the fastest lap as well. Leon Derbicourt in P6 for Race Clutch. Angelo D'Ortenzio into P7. Tudor Proshkan up into P8. Then we've got the TES of Nelson Alves in P9. Jerry Van Bussel in P10. Jan Halliday from starting on pole falls down to P11. Larry Tolkien in P12, Pascalia Ranieri and Lola Vera in 13th and 14th respectively. I mean, I do believe it was Camel Staturer slightly further down the order before we ended up getting in towards the bottom 5. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of stewards' inquiries, especially after that second safety car restart. And of course, the incident which caused it as well, crashing into the pit wall on exit. It's going to be a long night for Crips tonight, I'll say that much. But as far as things go, absolutely fantastic to see. I don't feel like we could have asked for too much more.
Certainly is. I'm going to put something onto the intermission screen because it is.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't mean to zoom in then for dramatic effect, but it is looking very close here. So I'll just pick up the standings. I've got the points they've scored. Let's just say
Okay.
VA and Race Clutch were separated by a point there in that race. So let's work this out.
Okay,
Maths
let's
is
get the
coming to
maths going.
effect.
Right, here we go. This is where you're going to find out West Midlands maths is a little bit different because whenever we have to add stuff up, we don't actually add it. We kind of just like merge the numbers together and then it just makes one big number. It's different. Interesting. Very pleasant as well. Looking in the driver chat. No one's throwing accusations around. Everyone's remaining very calm, very transparent.
So
Absolutely
we
fantastic.
have Gap
Lovely to see.
of
Go on then.
29 points between TES and Veloce Academy, and then that makes it 33 points between TES and Race Clutch. So our top 3 heading into the final round will be separated by 33 points. Insane.
Okay, right. So we do have a freeway championship battle
Let's
heading into
find our
Interlagos.
top 3. Who was the podium against? So it was Julian,
Julian,
who's in the VC already. So we
Yes.
got Lenny and Ricardo, wasn't it?
yes.
Right, I'll drag
Whoa.
Julian in quickly. Julian, welcome in. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Perfect. So, what a dramatic race that was. I mean, first of all, qualifying wasn't too good, of course. Getting P10 in the end. Do you think you could have fought for pole? And do you think that the reason you got P10 was just because of that invalidation?
Yes, I think like the pace was actually looking very promising, and as we went into the lobby, it actually was looking even more promising. That's why it's fortunate that Harvey was already out in Q1, because I think we both could have been easily in the top 3 to top 5 in Q3. Yeah, we were just flying on the straights, and yeah.
And of course, in the end, you took the victory ahead of Benzoni, of course. Going on to a set of the softs, was you still debating whether to go softs or mediums, or do you think it was just clear cut, definitely going on to the soft tyre?
Like we were going on the straight, and then as I asked Tyler immediately what we are gonna do, and with no hesitation he said we are pitting for soft with both cars, and then yeah, like just half a minute later, we already saw that it basically was the best strategy we could have done, and yeah, just insane strategy from Tyler. Not gonna lie, like he's done everything perfect, and yeah, he also yeah, I had quite big balls there, and thanks for the trust as well in believing in me to overtake all of the cars I had in the last couple of laps. But yeah,
Of course, obviously P1 and P4 in the end. I mean, you're not realistically in the championship fight, but I think you are within 50 points to TES, so you could realistically, obviously, have a chance. But of course, that being very unlikely. So this season on a whole, how do you think it's gone for the team? Do you think you should have finished higher than P4? We presume in the standings.
you know, like last game and especially last season as well, I always was pretty decent in qualifying, and now I witness when you are just not in the top 5 and you're around top 10 and stuff, you always get into some collisions. Like literally, this season was so unlucky for me. In Spa, I got into collisions, was P19 after the first lap. Then in some other races, I was just when you're doing races like with a month gap to the next race, you just get out of practice at some point, and it was actually pretty difficult to get into the races immediately again and be fast again. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I think some races I've done this season was like not ideal at all, and I think we should be leading the championship right now. But I mean, we're not that far behind. I think behind Tess now, so we'll definitely give it everything to yeah, get the lead in the second race. And I actually just got the standing from Sepp Kowalke. We are 40 no yeah, 40 points behind Tess. So yeah.
So it's difficult, but at the end of the day, it's still the fact you've got to the end of the season, even after all the issues, and still within 40 points of TES. So, of course, the
Yeah.
team's done a great job this season, has fell behind due to many things, but of course, still being able to pick it up at the end. So that's all from me. Anything from you, Josh?
I mean, mathematically, you're still in contention for the championship, but with what a maximum of 60. What was it we discussed earlier, Nathan? 60 something
64.
points.
64.
64 points available. You're gonna have to outscore them by 20 points, which is easier said than done, especially with TES's lineup.
Yeah.
As far as things go, Interlagos. How does the team feel? Are you comfortable around Interlagos? Is that something that you guys have looked forward to? Is it a circuit which you like driving?
Actually, I have no clue. Like literally, I don't even think I've done a race, and I couldn't remember that I've done a race on this game on this track. Probably in PSGL, but I've got no clue. But yeah, I mean Interlagos for sure an interesting track, and yeah, I like Baku more than Brazil. But yeah, we will see how it will end up.
Okay, so you heard it here first. Julian's going to win in Brazil by 25 seconds. Brilliant stuff. No, but once again, a pleasure and congratulations on your win there, Julian. Fantastic stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one, Julian. Thanks for joining us.
Yep.
All right.
See ya.
So, see you later, mate. Right, there we go.
Lovely
so,
bloke.
brilliant to always have a chat with Julian after the race. Of course, Discord's still zooming me in. Let's zoom out again. There we are.
Of course, mate.
But brilliant
love
race
you
to end
those.
off. Well, to end off the penultimate round. Of course, we got Brazil next week. 33 points to top 3, 29 between TES and Veloce Academy. And we all know that over these past couple of months, TES, VA have had quite a furious rivalry. They've been getting into arguments, they've been getting into personal disputes. So this really puts an end to it all, because we know TES win, they're going to laugh at VA. We know if VA win, they're going to laugh at TES. So there's pride for the team, but also being ahead in that rivalry. We all know that they want to beat their rivals, so we all know that
course.
both teams are going to put everything into it to try and win that. To try and win that title, and also Race Clutch as well. Can't count them out. They're sitting in third behind, just waiting for chaos to happen.
Exactly, and putting all the personal stuff and the pride aside, these guys are racing for money as well.
Mhm.
There is a prize pool behind this as well, and that prize pool could absolutely massively help out. The likes of Veloce Academy, TES, Race Clutch, even an R8G, of course. All these teams certainly wouldn't stuff their nose up at any sort of monetary gain. And realistically, all four in with a chance, some more favourable than others, as mentioned. But end of the day, you can't rule anything out, especially around Interlagos. Fingers crossed it doesn't rain, because if it does rain, it's just going to make it a little bit more chaotic, and I don't feel like we'll need that. We just need a nice normal race around Interlagos, and then everything will be absolutely smooth sailing.
No, we don't. We need the most chaotic race ever. That's what I want anyway, and that's what I need.
Monsoon. I'll tell you what. Let's get the snow out. We'll start snowing.
I mean, the thing is, Josh, we looked at last season. Remember, it was Ferrari versus Race Clutch, and we thought, right, that is the best we're going to get. This season, we dialed it up. We've gone for 3, so which is 6 drivers fighting for a title. So we just doubled it up and thought, right, let's go again and see what 3 teams can do to fight for it and try and make the best ending ever. But, it's going to be great, isn't it? Next Friday, of course, back here again for Brazil. Final round of the championship. TES, VA, and Race Clutch all fight for that title, and we'll see who will take it away. So, of course, guys, thank you again for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you with us again for round 9 of the season. We'll be back next week for the finale and see who'll be the Season 5 champion. So, thanks, guys, for joining. We'll see you next time. Good night.